I mean, since I'd already been in Artiesville, I occasionally had heard that I'd heard that the rest of the whole planning meeting. So I think this is doing that. We went into the but what was really cool, sort of remember seeing the choice of
Get your tickets, it'll be fun.
It's 7 o'clock, so we can start whenever you all are ready.
It looks like we are ready. Call to order the regular scheduled meeting of March 3rd for the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission. Could we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Whitaker,
Present.
Commissioner Chen,
Here.
Commissioner Bond,
Here.
Vice Chair Peters,
Here.
and Chair Alexander.
Here.
With everyone here, we can move forward.
Great. The next item would be our Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could please rise, place their hands on their hearts, and begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our next item are items from members and staff. Does staff have any that they wish to address at this point, or would you prefer to defer to the end of the meeting?
We can wait till the end of the meeting.
Okay, great. Commissioners, do you have any comments, starting with Commissioner Whitaker?
Well, I'd just like to start off with, I was able to make it over to the Screenland 5K over the weekend. It was a fantastic event. Pretty much it seemed the whole community was out. It was great to see all the costumes. It was great to see the energy. It was just great to see everyone having a good time and enjoying themselves. It's always a pleasure when the community is able to come out. And even during whatever may else go on, you see everybody smiling, enjoying. The kids were there. There was a group of kids called Them Kids. They performed on stage, and it was really, really refreshing once again for the Screenland 5K. And it seemed like it was even more people than last year. So it's an event that's growing, and it was the 10th anniversary of it. So it was great. It was a fantastic event, and I love to see events in Culver City, and they're always just so amazing. That's all I have. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen?
I too went to the Screenland 5K. Well, I checked out the beginning of it. What was it? I was reading on the paper recently about, I mean, Mandami's been saying this, the New York mayor, about calling Parks and Recreation and Community Services in New York as the agency of affordability. You know, the vision for really how Parks and Recreation brings everyone together and levels the playing field and sort of just builds connections across class and geography and various other things. And so it was just really stimulating and interesting to think about Parks and Recreation and Community Services across the nation having different roles and what we can, and how that dovetails well with the Parks Plan in terms of looking at equity and looking at services and looking at really meeting the needs of Culver City. So that was just on my mind. Tonight is the blood moon. It's at 3 o'clock, so probably not.
That was last
Oh,
night.
last night, yes, sorry. But it was at 3 o'clock, so I was not awake for it. It seemed one day it'll be maybe at an earlier hour that we could all actually plan something around to see. Anyways, that's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Bond?
I did have an opportunity to see the blood moon because it was done at 4 a.m., but alas, I was too tired to get out of bed, and I was angry that I was awake at that time. So I'm like, I'm not getting my butt out of bed. So I have a few things. First off, I attended 2 of the meetings with the new manager, Manager Otis Jones, and I did bring up, I saw Chris there both times, and then at the second meeting, I saw Maggie, but we tried to stay far away from each other. If more than 2 of us. So I did bring up something about, at the first meeting, I talked a bit about the community garden, because it was closed in 2022, and the city promised everybody that it would be open in a year. And we are going 4 years out now. And so that, I know that's not in our request for our budget letter, but I just, we really, there needs to be some more push on that, because I feel like 4 years and we promised them a year. So it just kind of seems a poor reflection upon the parks. Not anything you're doing, just that. The other thing is what was really great about the second meeting was the number of communities that came out and really pushed, saying, we want our parks funded. So that was amazing at the second meeting. It was pretty much everything. It was all about parks, parks, parks. A lot of it was Bill Bott's, but a lot of it was about the parks and the importance of parks to the community. I know that we are going to be talking about, oh, one more thing. There's a nice picture of Dan running the 5K with his Parks shirt on. Go Parks, go Dan. Oh, I should say Councilmember O'Brien. And the last thing that I have to say is, I know this is about the plunge, but it's not about the policies. So the last time I was at the plunge, or last week when I was at the plunge, I went over to see if the Public Works had actually fixed the deck, because the deck is crumbling on the north side of the plunge. And they were supposed to do that when they closed the plunge for 3 weeks. That was what I was told. They did not do that. So the concrete, the top of the concrete is crumbling away, and it hasn't, and that should have been something that was a very quick fix. I know there was a lot of rain and everything, but at the same time, they could have used, there was a break at some point, they could have used some type of quickcrete to take care of that, and it wasn't done. So, but on a positive note, it's been beautiful. I hope everybody's enjoying the spring weather before we turn back into rain again. So that's all I have.
Vice Chair Peters.
Yeah, first of all, I want to wish anybody who's celebrating a Ramadan Mabruk. It's still Ramadan for a couple more weeks, I believe. And so I hope you all I hope your fast is going well. I also attended the meeting with Otis Jones, one of them, and I would just say, Adam was there, so he was there and also heard so much love for the parks, but also demands to fix up bots. So hopefully, and the mayor was there, and I think the mayor and the new city manager really heard that, so I'm glad to hear that. Speaking about bots, I was at the Little League opening day festivities in which Mayor Puza threw out the first pitch, and he got it very nicely over the plate. So that would be so nerve-wracking to me to have to throw the opening pitch. I'd be so concerned about that. But I will say it was a really lovely event. But yeah, I fell into a gopher hole. I didn't fall down, but I did kind of roll my ankle. So yeah, those fields, those gophers, man. They're not great, but Little League seems to be going well. I was up there on Sunday for some games as well. I also want to point out that Megan and her staff, Megan Stebbings and her staff at the Teen Center have been doing a really good job with some tricky behavioral issues that have been going on because teens, tweens, middle schoolers, that's just how they are. And I think that Megan and her staff have done a really nice job of pivoting and dealing with the problems. I also want to point out that at the Let's Talk event, I learned that folks are forming a new Parks Foundation to sort of mirror the Culver City Arts Foundation. So at some point, we should think about some sort of relationship with that. And then finally, in kind of less good news, I got some complaints about the advertisement of camp signups. So camp signup was Monday morning at 7 a.m. It did not fill in 6 minutes as it did in years past, but that might be in part because I heard from lots of people that they didn't know, and it didn't seem particularly well advertised that camp signups were on March 2nd at 7 a.m., which was maybe good for me. I got my spot. I was on the signups at 7 a.m., but just as a reminder to make sure that when we do have camps in the future that we're always advertising when sign up is. But I told all those folks to please register for the wait list, knowing that people often get taken off the wait list. So, but it seems like we're getting ready for summer, so that's exciting.
Thank you. It seems like my fellow commissioners have touched on some of the same items I was going to, so I'll try not to be too repetitious here. But I do want to speak again about the city conversations that went on with our new city manager. I was able to attend 2 of those, and then I heard from other members of the community about the others. And yes, the amount of love that was expressed for our entire park system, the employees and the programs that it was put on was very heartening to listen to. And for those of you out there who are listening, we thank you with all our hearts, and we hope that you can sort of keep up the pressure on that, because in between the time that all those meetings were being held, the city council had an all-day, was it called a strategic planning retreat, on Valentine's Day, of all things. Talk about showing the love. And anyway, it seems that a lot of the things that were rising to the top should be the ones that help Parks, Recreation, and Community Services with respect to the fact that, indeed, if we were talking about city infrastructure, our parks are part of that infrastructure. And so we're hopeful to see what happens with the budget process. On a second note, I reposted something that the department put out about the shade structure that went over El Marino playground area. And I know that the plans for Culver West Alexander Park playground area renovation also include the shade structure, and there were a lot of people online that thought that this is the most wonderful thing ever. So at least we're addressing things from our aspect in terms of providing those areas nice shade while we go through climate change. At the last city council meeting, there was an item on there to discuss food trucks, some of them in relationship to park areas and how these things were being used. And since I've heard things from my fellow commissioners here, I took the opportunity as an individual commissioner to ask the city council if we might have an opportunity to opine on that. So you'll see that on the agenda item later in this meeting. On a happy note, with respect to Bill Bott's, or the parks and the ball fields and everything related to that, I was invited to participate in an actual walking tour of the area that Adam was leading for the city manager, and there was a lot of discussion about how that relates to the parks plan, or the what was the name of the plan that came before that just looked at vets and?
It was we called it the feasibility study.
Yes, the feasibility study. So the feasibility study was discussed in relation to the fields, and there was also discussion in relationship to the fields about how quickly we can do something with the mound of dirt, which I'm sure Adam will be happy to talk to us about when we get to our budget letter portion of the agenda. And finally, I wanted to let you know that, in case you didn't see it, the brochure for the hiring of the director of the PRCS department has gone out, and through discussions with the city manager and the personnel director, they are inviting one of the commissioners to sit on the first round of interviews, which will be done virtually on April 1. So Maggie and I were basically not quite flipping a coin, but she is working full-time and I'm not, so I'm going to take on the all-day duty of doing that. And then, based on the winnowing process from that, on April 10th, they will be interviewing those individuals who pass that in person. With whoever is part of that group. I'm sure that will include the city manager, since he will be making the selection. That's all my items. Thank you very much. Moving on to public comment for items not on the agenda. I see we have 5 speakers. So we will give them, normally I give 3 minutes, but we have a long agenda tonight, so let's make it 2 minutes, please.
Okay, the first speaker, apologies if I mispronounced the name, but Love D'Encarnacio Bradley.
You're very close. You're in kind of song.
So you'll have 2 minutes. You'll see the timer up there, and then I'll ring the bell when the 2 minutes are up.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Love D'Encarnacio Bradley, and I am deeply honored to serve as Miss Culver City 2026 through the Miss America Scholarship Program. I have been awarded over $12,000 that have furthered my education at the University of California, Irvine, and today I stand before you as a hope for our future, as inspiration to continue to serve our local communities. Through this program, I have been able to pick up so many different professional development skills that are aiding me in pursuing a higher education in political science and hopefully going to law school one day to hopefully serve as a city council member myself, or maybe even a commissioner as well. This year, I will proudly represent the city of Culver City at Miss California this year, and hopefully I could bring back that title to our home city. My community service initiative, Love Leads the Way, a call to service, is centered on turning compassion into action. Throughout this year, I plan to organize volunteer service days, partner with local nonprofits, and collaborate with small businesses for community drives. This past year, I was able to raise over $1,000 when SNAP benefits were cut in our federal government, and donate back to Feeding America. I hope to continue this initiative as I serve Miss Culver City. I believe that service should not be symbolic, but it should be a creation of momentum. Momentum that mobilizes young people, momentum that connects businesses through causes, and momentum that strengthens the bridge between residents and civic leadership. My goal is to be a visible, active partner in the city, showing up consistently and amplifying local initiatives and putting real action behind the title I hold. Tonight, I just wanted to introduce myself. I was awarded this title this past Saturday, and I just wanted to showcase my face in the city and say that I'm ready to serve this year. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Next, we have Julianne Rock.
Hello. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so grateful to be standing in front of you all today. I am beyond honored to introduce myself as Miss Culver City's Teen 2026. My name is Julianne Rock. Like Love said, the Miss America organization is a nonprofit that is committed to empowering our future generations and our future leaders through women, and I am a living testament of that. I have been competing for around 5 years, and this is my third title in the organization, and I'm so excited to go back to Miss California's Teen 2026, and just like Love, bring back the title of Miss California's Teen to Culver City and Los Angeles County. My community service initiative is Rock Your Impact. My last name is Rock, so it's a little bit of play on words. It is committed to empowering children through education and leadership. I have partnered with a national educational nonprofit called Global Game Changers, and I mentioned in my onstage question at the competition that was hosted this past weekend that I want to empower 10,000 children within Culver City of them knowing their role in society and becoming future leaders. And I, just like Love, am ready to take that next step in Culver City. So thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and for anything that you need, me and Love and the rest of the LA County title holders are here to serve you and serve Culver City. And I'm so beyond excited for this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Meg Sullivan, and Steve Rowe has ceded his time to her, so she will have 4 minutes.
I promise not to take 4 minutes. Good evening, Chair Alexander and Commissioners. As your resident one-note symphony, I'd like to draw to your attention a couple of considerations for the area under the E-Line train at Wesley next to the bike path. The first involves a contract. Can I have one of the slides? The first involves a contract that the city recently entered into with a company. The other one, please. Yeah, with a company that supplies and maintains outdoor public restrooms. The company trucks the restrooms that look like shipping containers to a site. Apparently, no utilities are needed to be installed. I think that this particular bay, especially the side to the left of the photo, would be an ideal location for one of these thrones. That's what they're called. If this site were funded, if the area under the train line were funded for some sort of outdoor activity, some sort of park use, then park users could use these thrones. Most importantly, though, the throne might help address the human bio-waste issue that's been plaguing the open land along the bike path by giving unhoused people access to services. I took the opportunity yesterday to actually pace the first throne that we have in the city, which is at the train station in Ivy Station, and there clearly is room here for this. So I hope this can be considered. The second consideration involves the city's digital kiosk. Can I go back to the first slide? Yeah. So the city council is expected to decide next week where to site these kiosks. And while I'm thrilled to see that there are a number in the Arts District, and I really hope that the kiosks will generate more patrons for the local businesses and more participants in our activities and events and so forth, I was concerned about the location of the middle dot. Obviously, this is a vague map that was issued in anticipation of next week's meeting or council meeting, and it's not really clear exactly where it is, but it looks like it's at the train line at the end of Wesley. This would be a good place for a kiosk. There's a lot of traffic from the Arts District to Hayden Track that goes through the area that I had in the first picture. But I just am hoping that the kiosk program, which is much ahead of anything park-related for under the train, doesn't end up precluding any sort of higher and better use for the area under the train. You can imagine that there would be room for everything, but then you could imagine if the kiosks were improperly placed, then maybe you couldn't have a throne, maybe you couldn't have pickleball courts. So I guess my point is I just hope that there will be 3 nodding heads to have staff, kind of look into this and report back. Anyway, so thanks in advance for your consideration.
Thank you.
And lastly, we have Cortez Jones. He is not in the chat. That is it for public comment.
Yes, thank you. Next is receipt of correspondence. Did we receive any?
No, I don't think so. We didn't.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're moving on to consent calendar items. The first is the approval of the minutes for the last meeting.
Okay.
Were there any
I-
changes to the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to adopt.
I move to adopt the minutes.
I second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Chen, seconded by Commissioner Bond, to approve the minutes of the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission meeting of February 3rd, 2026. You may now vote. And with all votes in, that passes unanimously.
Next is action item A1, the receipt and filing of a report for a proposed donation and installation of the historic MGM sign at the Senior Center, and to provide recommendations to the City Council as appropriate. I'm guessing from looking down from the dais, we probably have a staff report on this item, so we should start with that.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Sally Unsworth, and I am the Cultural Affairs Manager for the city, and thank you for the opportunity to share a brief update with you tonight. I am here to introduce a proposal that is still in its early stages. The city has been approached about the potential donation and return of the historic MGM lion sign to Culver City. Before any decisions are made, staff is conducting early outreach and evaluation to determine whether there is interest in accepting this donation and identifying a possible site. Because one of the concept locations under consideration is the Culver City Senior Center, we wanted to share this overview with the PRCS Commission and hear any initial thoughts. But first, a little context. Culver City is known as the heart of Streamland. You can move on to the next one. And the MGM lion is one of the most recognizable symbols of that legacy. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer was formed here in 1924, and the lion and its roar were registered as a trademark in 1927. For decades, the MGM sign stood prominently above the studio lot and became a defining landmark in the Culver City skyline. You can move on to the next slide. The sign was removed in the early 1990s and has been in storage since around 2000. This proposal would explore the possibility of returning the sign to Culver City so that it can once again be publicly visible.
I want to acknowledge Hope Parrish, Culver City's city historian, who is here this evening. Hope can speak further about the history of the sign in Culver City, as well as how the opportunity for the city to potentially accept this sign came about. In considering possible locations, staff conducted some preliminary scouting across parks and civic sites. Adam Ferguson from the PRCS department and I explored several potential locations in and around the Veterans Memorial Complex, but we did not identify a viable alternative site due primarily to the scale of the sign. To give a sense of the scale of that sign, you can move to the next slide. This is another picture of the sign in sight, and one more forward, please. The sign is approximately 105 feet long, with the lion emblem itself spanning about 32 feet in width. The overall height of the structure is just under 14 feet. Because of these dimensions, it requires a substantial wall or structural support and a location where the sign can be both visible and safely accommodated. You can pass it to the next slide. This gives you a scale with me standing next to it in the storage unit. One possible location that emerged as a possible option during the review is the east patio area of the Culver City Senior Center along Overland Avenue. There are several reasons this site initially stood out. Historically, the Senior Center property was Lot 2 of the original MGM studio complex, which provides a meaningful connection to the studio history of the site. From a visibility standpoint, the Overland Avenue frontage offers a prominent location that acknowledges Culver City's film history. At the same time, the site is adjacent to an active facility with regular daily use, which helps address concerns about vandalism and could arise in less visible park locations. It is also important to note that the sign itself was originally double-sided. So if you go backwards one, you can see that there's actually two sides to the sign, they're mirror. Which creates some flexibility of how it could potentially be installed. Conceptually, there are possibilities that could be explored. The first option is not installing the sign at the location at all. The second possibility would be installing one side of the sign along a perimeter wall facing Overland Avenue. The third possibility would involve installing both sides of the sign, with one side visible to Overland Avenue and the other oriented inward toward the Senior Center courtyard. Last week, we also presented the concept to seniors at the Senior Center to begin gathering feedback. We spoke directly with 19 seniors during the presentation, but we also left poster boards, which are over here, and some informational materials for the remainder of the week, and invited people to complete surveys. As a result, we ultimately received feedback from 49 individuals. You can move forward. The responses are mixed, but a majority, approximately 59%, indicated support for accepting the donation and citing the sign at the Senior Center. It is also worth noting that some of the respondents may not have fully understood the project scope when they weren't in the presentation, as there were questions about the funding of this sign. And that brings me into an important clarification regarding funding. If the city ultimately decides to accept the sign and proceed with relocation and conservation, the intent would be for those costs to be covered through the city's Cultural Trust Fund, which supports arts and cultural projects. The project would be for the sign to enter the city's public art collection, and the Cultural Trust would support the relocation and conservation of the work. PRCS would not be expected to assume any of the costs associated with relocating, restoring, or installing the sign. Tonight's presentation is informational only. If there is interest in continuing to explore the opportunity, staff would bring it back to the Cultural Affairs Commission to further discussion and potential recommendation. If supported there, the proposal would then move on to City Council. So there's still several steps, and tonight is just to get feedback about your initial thoughts for this. I'm also going to turn it over to Ryan Dearneck, who will provide an overview of the Senior Center patio renovation project and walk through the possibilities of the space both with and without the sign. Just for clarity's sake, we are pursuing potential other locations as well, so this isn't some final moment for this discussion. However, we've found it difficult to find a site that both is publicly accessible, that would allow us to keep it in our public domain, and we have a few potential options that have some negotiations with private owners that are possibilities too. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ryan to talk about the patio improvements, and then would welcome your feedback.
Good evening. I'm Ryan Drenek. I'm a landscape architect with the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Department. I wanted to review the Senior Center Patio Improvement Project. We have the basic design that we presented earlier in the year, along with some alternatives. Tonight, we're going to talk about a couple different things. First, I'll cover the acknowledgement of land. We'll talk about the current conditions of the patio and why we're doing this project. We'll talk about proposed plans, the project schedule, and then I'll answer questions and comments. First, we'd like to acknowledge that the City of Culver City formally acknowledges that the land we inhabit today is the ancestral land of the indigenous people who have lived here for millennia. The City of Culver City honors the Gabrielino people, past, present, and future, and recognizes their enduring connection to this land as its original caretakers. This image is taken just a couple miles from here at the Curravunga Village Springs, which has been a home to the indigenous people for thousands of years. Moving on to our project is located on the east side of the Senior Center along Overland Boulevard. We've picked the east patio. It has 5,500 square feet of space that we'll be renovating. It does not include the sidewalk. This is the corner view from Culver and Overland. What you'll see in this image is most of what you see will remain after the project is built. The flagpoles, the public art, and the bench seating will all remain. What will be removed is the low hedge, which will be replaced with a wall. This is the view from Overland Boulevard as it existed a few years ago. The current condition is still the same. We still have that low hedge that will be removed when a new wall will be placed. The interior of the existing courtyard that will be renovated currently has 2 large concrete benches. Those concrete benches will be removed as part of this project, and the small lawn that isn't used for anything at this point will be turned into additional patio space with new concrete paving. The low hedge that you see along the street will be replaced with an 8-foot wall. And the design goals include creating a larger multi-use patio space, reducing the noise from Overland Boulevard, and creating privacy along Overland Boulevard. We will also provide shade, create a safe space, and try to complement the building architecture. Here's a plan for the east patio improvements. This plan does not include the art, but I will include art on the next couple slides. This is the basic plan. If you look at the middle of the sheet, you'll see that it says edge of shade canopy. That is the overhang from the building as it exists now, where that edge of canopy is also the approximate location of the edge of the existing paving. So we'll be pushing the paving beyond that canopy and capturing new space. You'll see the wall and 2 fences, or 2 gates, are placed. One gate on the north corner on Overland Boulevard. That would be an exit-only emergency gate. And then there is a gate on the south corner near the entrance to the building, and that would be the primary entrance to the patio space. The key features are we get new expanded patio space with 1,400 new square feet of concrete. We have 142 linear feet of walls. Those are planned to be 8-foot walls. Shade trees, as I talked about, we have 3 shade trees. We have California native plants being used along the wall on both sides. And we have proposed movable furniture. There's 4 movable tables. This is a rendering of the basic plan for the project. You'll see the new wall in there. And an interior view of the courtyard where you can see the new wall with small trees and shrubs along to help screen it. There are 3 options being proposed for this project at this point. Option A is as it's been presented so far. There is no MGM art included in this. We had a presentation about 6 months ago for this, and I think we had a 97% approval. Option B has the MGM sign that would face Overland Boulevard only. What you'll see in the bottom rendering is we have a large blue sign that is facing the street and sidewalk. The sidewalk, I believe, is 10 feet wide at this location, and the sign would be set 6 feet back from the sidewalk, adjacent to the wall. Option C is the sign on both sides of the wall. So on option C, what you see is we have removed one of the shade trees, so you have one fewer shade tree, and then you have the wall more exposed in the center where you have a sign on both sides. So the sign is visible from the inside and from the outside of the project. These are the materials that we're proposing. These are primarily native California plants, except for the forest pansy redbud on the top left. These are evergreen plants. Most of them would look like common landscaping plants. They're not going to be the so-called like sticks and weeds that people think of when you think of landscape with natives. Everything is green all year, but it does use low water, and it is good for the environmental diversity of the city. Did I miss one? Yes, I did. Anyway, the project schedule. We have already completed the preliminary design for this project as it's been presented tonight. We had a preliminary community presentation in the fall. We just finished the construction drawings for this basic part of the project, and we will look forward to your guidance on how to finish that up. We have the second community meeting took place this week, and we are going to be completing the construction drawings in the next few months with a planned construction next winter, which would last 3 to 6 months. I want to say thank you, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I don't see any speakers on this item.
No, we don't.
I want to thank you, everyone, for the presentation and support for this project. I understand there might be some level of excitement about bringing back some of the history that was associated with the sign and the filming industry in Culver City. But I think this item on our agenda has some unique aspects to it, and with the indulgence of my fellow commissioners, I'd like to take the rare prerogative as chair to begin our remarks, just to frame a few underlying issues to this project. The main one, in my mind, is why it is premature at this time for it to be appearing on our agenda. We, on the dais here, appreciate very much this item being brought to our attention. The commission absolutely does like to lend its voice to items within our sphere of influence. Sometimes we have to request it, as we did of the city council, as happened with the food trucks and parks issue, which will be later on our agenda tonight. This item regarding the MGM sign was put on our agenda by staff ostensibly because the proposed location is the eastern patio wall of the senior center. That would be making it part of an already existing and approved CIP project. It was brought out in the presentation, and it is at a parks facility. And I understand that in concept, there is a lot of legitimate excitement about bringing the sign back to life as a possible draw for tourists who are coming to the Olympics Games and maybe FIFA before it. But after reading the staff report and the voluminous attachments, it's pretty obvious that this is more of an arts project and a historic one at that. Why? Because the proposed funding source for this project comes from the Cultural Trust. This commission has no say over that funding source. The Municipal Code Section 15.06 is clear that this is under the purview of the Cultural Affairs Commission. So that would place the proposed project in the crosshairs of interest and voices of both this commission and the Cultural Affairs Commission. So it's surprising the written materials provided and also the presentation tonight didn't really make much mention of the Cultural Affairs Commission. They did mention what staff has been doing, but it didn't mention the Cultural Affairs Commission. This commission has signals its interest in collaborating to include arts in the park system through our Parks Master Plan and by having a commissioner as representative to the the Culver City Arts Foundation. And I do believe that we very much appreciate the time and work that our fellow cultural affairs commissioners do in this space. It's a delicate dance to give due deference and respect to our fellow commissioners in other subject areas without playing in their sandbox. We've got plenty of sandboxes of our own to deal with here as the PRS Commission. But I think that all city commissioners are volunteering their time and expertise for the betterment of our city and deserve our respect for doing so. Giving that respect can result in it being mirrored back to us, as happened with commission and staff collaboration amongst PRCS and planning that will give us an important voice in future park facility developer fee credit decisions. Now, I spent a lot of time over the last few days looking at this project. Rather than focusing as much on the project details, I recommend we instead question how and why this project landed on our agenda at this time. In my analysis, it seems just a little bit premature. Let the record reflect that this project did indeed appear at the Cultural Affairs Commission agenda in September of 2025. I reviewed both the minutes and the recording of that meeting. To say it was illuminating was an understatement, but one thing is clear. Since the Cultural Affairs Commission didn't make a motion on this item in September, I'm thinking it was their expectation it would come back to them before it hit our agenda. Well, here it is on our agenda, and it still isn't back on their agenda. So I found that rather curious, but I think it speaks volumes. Because according to the commissioner's remarks at the September meeting, there was some ongoing disconnect and lack of communication from the cultural affairs manager to the commission on a number of important matters. This is apparently a through line to this very day of shutting out the cultural affairs commissioners. In fact, I'm not even sure that they know this is on our agenda tonight.
They do. And I did mention in my comments that it would go back to the commission. Actually, it was in my comments just now.
I know, excuse me, I'm speaking.
Okay, sorry.
I did hear you say that, and I'm very glad to hear that. But I don't think we can completely turn a blind eye to this. Our Cultural Affairs Commission is obviously considered by our city council to be an important partner in the planning for the upcoming Olympic Games. What the record does show, and I looked at the entirety of the meeting where the Cultural Affairs Commission discussed it in September, is they asked a number of insightful questions at their meeting about the MGM sign. They expressed the need to reactivate their Historic Preservation Committee, not only for the sign, but also for the tree surrounds in the Art District, which apparently moved into their purview without their prior knowledge. They stated the decision on how and where to use this asset needs to be part of a formal and transparent design discovery process with a qualified consultant. Staff claimed that other sites were considered and rejected without providing any details of the process of how that worked. The Cultural Affairs Commission also commented on a number of potential safety concerns for individuals and for the art itself at the proposed location. The commission questioned whether the senior center location would cut into the patio area when one of the goals of the patio project is to provide more usable space for users of the senior center. So clearly, our ready, willing, and able Cultural Affairs Commissioner have already done the important review of this project and are awaiting answers. And not from us, but from the Cultural Affairs staff. So I ask the obvious. Why is this on our agenda at this time? It's premature. So for those reasons, I will move that this project be remanded back to the Cultural Affairs Commission so they have a chance to get answers to all of those questions from Cultural Affairs staff before or even if this item reappears before us as something that can be added in a parks facility. Is there a second to that motion?
I will second that.
Thank you. I will yield the floor now to my fellow commissioners for any observations or questions they may have.
I apologize. By doing a motion and seconding it, you have actually forced us into a vote. There is a motion on the floor, and it has
I
been
withdraw
seconded.
my motion for the time being in order to allow my fellow commissioners to comment. Does the seconder withdraw?
Yes, I
Thank
withdraw.
you. Commissioner Whitaker?
I would love for Leo the Lion to come back home, but clearly there's a discrepancy between cultural affairs. It brought the cultural affairs, so I wouldn't want this commission and them to be caught in limbo with each other, which would further delay a project that I would hope does happen sooner than later. So I will defer to Chair's comments on this matter.
Commissioner Chen?
Yeah, I have no comments. I don't have an opinion. I think I'm not informed enough in terms about the timing and interplay between the two commissions.
Commissioner Bond?
I would agree with Chair Alexander. I don't know everything. But the thing is that if it has not already gone back to the Cultural Affairs Commission and they have questions, while I would be extremely excited to see Leo the Lion back in Culver City and up where everybody can enjoy him and take pictures, I really do think it needs to go through the proper channels, and I don't feel like that has been fully done yet. So I defer to the chair.
Would you allow me to give a few clarity to your points?
I would like each of the commissioners to have a chance to comment before any clarifications. Thank you. Vice Chair Peters.
Yeah, I was also, would like to see a little bit more input from Cultural Affairs on this, and also a little bit more understanding about where the other potential locations would be. I also worry that we haven't done enough. If the spot at the senior center goes forward, or if we want to keep, or if the city wants to keep exploring that, I would feel like we should do more outreach at the senior center. You said you got 19 people at a meeting and 49 total. I don't know the senior center membership.
4,000.
Yeah, so that's, that's not statistically representative anywhere close to it. So I'd like to see more outreach there. I also, one legal question I had, or maybe not legal, but one question I had would be like, at that location, are we worried about any opposition from Sony? Because Sony's basically across the street, and then to have the MGM sign, even though MGM's not like really a studio any longer, the name comes up still occasionally. And then I am concerned, although, the money comes from this cultural trust to put it in, I just feel like right there is just a magnet for graffiti. Like, it's right there. I just worry about a sign being, like, on the one hand, it seems like your picture of you standing next to it. I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. You could take pictures next to it. But then also I'm like, teenagers, as I said earlier, And so I worry about maintenance. I worry about graffiti removal. Whereas, like, you could imagine if it was in a location where it was up higher, that would be a more difficult, item for dumb teenagers to do. So I think it should go. I agree that we probably need to send this back to Cultural Affairs Commission and see if there's not maybe better locations for it. I could see the vision. I think it could look cool there, but I do have a lot of concerns about it right now, so I would like to hear more from the Cultural Affairs Commission as well.
I would like to add one more thing. One of my concerns is if you look at the size of that sign and the width of that sidewalk, if people were wanting to take selfies with that, you would have to either go across the street, which as busy as Overland is, or it would be hard to get the entire sign with a person standing there. So, or you'd have to go maybe into the middle of the street. I don't know. It just seems like we could have a location where someone could get the entirety of this marvelous, amazing sign that really does belong in our city.
I just wanted to make note that it almost seems like my fellow commissioners were channeling some of the same kind of comments that I heard after listening to the not the minutes, but the video recording of the September 5th meeting of the Cultural Affairs Commission. So are there any other questions? If you have any clarifying points, yes, please.
There were definitely concerns in September, well noted, and I apologize that that wasn't clear. I think one of the things that's confusing about the staff report is that it says that it's a recommendation to City Council when it should say recommendation to the Cultural Affairs Commission. What happened at the commission meeting did challenge whether this was a historic object. We actually have a professional opinion that it is not. Since it's been moved and altered, it cannot come in as a historic object. So that was something that's been discussed mostly in the Standing Public Arts Subcommittee. So further discussions past September have largely happened in that Standing Public Arts Subcommittee about what we were going to do next, about when it would go back to the commission. So absolutely, this will be going back to the commission. The idea is that we wanted to talk to seniors and to you so that there was comprehensive feedback from all the parties that may be affected if we were to take this donation and if this siting made sense. I'm hearing a lot of concerns, legitimate, some of them mirrored by commissioners, but also there was a lot of excitement even within that meeting where there was concern about taking the sign and about the possible siting. The other locations were around the park, and some of them were, like in front of the plunge. That was not a good option for sun. There were many things around. The idea was that the vandalism concern was also better remedied in a very public place so that people could drive by and enjoy it. There was a comment about selfies. There is the option, there's a sidewalk there and some frontage. It would be, if you wanted to capture the whole sign, probably difficult to capture the whole sign in a selfie, but it would have historic signage if it were to go there. But we were not even at that point yet. And so these are the types of feedback that I was bringing back to the commission to make a determination about if we accept the donation. We have not accepted this donation yet, and we certainly wanted to make sure that we had the Parks Commission's understanding of what their concerns were, if any, whether there was excitement for it or not, as well as the seniors, because obviously it would affect them. So please know that this was definitely going to go back to the commission and has been in discussion with the Standing Public Subcommittee, and they've been informed of this along the way and would go back in the next couple of months if there was interest in accepting the donation at that site or another. We're still exploring the other sites. So I just wanted to make that clarity. Was there any other thing that would be helpful for clarity?
So when I read the title to A1, it says receipt and filing of the report for proposed donation and installation of the historic MGM sign at the senior center and provide recommendations to the city council as appropriate. So what that means to me is that us as the Parks and Recs Commission, as commissioners, that if we recommend this, that this is then going to go to the city council, but this is how
this is how this title is reading.
Absolutely, and I think that that is a mistake, and I apologize that there wasn't clarity in that, because there was definitely at least 2, if not 3 more steps before this would go to city council. So I apologize, the staff
You
report.
need to change this
Yes.
title somehow, because otherwise then we are going to be recommending that when
So
we
your
approve.
motion does not have to be what the title is.
Okay.
You can make a motion for anything. One reason why the title is written the way it is you are an advisory commission to city council. So when recommendations are on the table, we typically have the recommendations going to city council, but that doesn't mean you can't make a motion to give recommendations to the Cultural Affairs Commission.
Are there any other points of clarity for what the sign is, or any of the rationale for bringing it in front of you? And I completely, if you're remanding it back to the commission, and that's absolutely fine. I just wanted to make sure that it came in front of you for feedback.
According to the record, it seemed that, so the Cultural Affairs Commission had it at their September meeting, and ostensibly it was to go to us at an October meeting. So obviously, or maybe not obviously, something has gone on between September and where we are today.
That was getting the historic opinion from whether it could be a historic object or not. So we waited until we had a consultant weigh in about that query from the commission.
But has it appeared as just an information item or anything else on the agenda of the Cultural Affairs Commission since that September meeting?
Yes, and the full report went through correspondence to the full commission. So they've read the whole historic report and the opinion from the historic preservation consultant that we used. So that came to them via correspondence and has been discussed at the Public Art Standing Subcommittee that does report out to the commission as well.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm just speaking to my fellow commissioners now, still a little bit reticent of taking something away from the Cultural Affairs Commission to consider to vet this particular program, because I think if you listen to everything that's been said here, this is an arts project that's being proposed to be put on a parks facility. So that's why we're here. But a lot of the big questions that talk about, looking at my notes here from that meeting, one of the Cultural Affairs Commissions, and they were excited about this project, by the way. I could see it on their faces, and they said they were, so I understand that. But they were also saying that it needed to be part of a formal and transparent design discovery process, preferably with a qualified consultant, and that hasn't occurred as far as I've heard. Is that correct?
The initial feedback from seniors and from you was to be part of that process, and then going to them, and then going to see what they wanted to do next. So that is still in progress.
I can't put myself in the mind of the Cultural Affairs Commission to know whether the robustness of that met what they were asking
Sure.
for, which is why I feel better about having it go back to them first. And like I said, again, we appreciate our voices being asked to comment on this, as you have heard, but.
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Seeing no other comments on this item, I'd like to reactivate the motion that I made previously on this item. Is there a second for that?
I will second it.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
We have a motion by Chair Alexander and a second by Commissioner Bond to remand the report back to the Cultural Affairs Commission.
motion and vote.
Oh. Or is it?
So go ahead and just.
Where do I find it?
Yeah, you did, but that's
Yeah, but where, I
change
forget
the
on the
current
screen where I find it.
Is
Oh,
remand
it's to
part of
the,
there.
right, so if you scroll down there,
Ah,
So go ahead and just go
Got it.
approve,
did you get motion there? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Second, I can second.
and then in the motion text, put approve.
I'm not used to doing that, sitting in this chair.
That's all.
Thank you.
And then go to vote. You all should have it now.
Uh,
And then you can see the votes are in. That motion passes.
The votes are in. That passes unanimously.
Thank you all. Moving on to item A2, which is a receipt and filing of the report regarding the Culver City Plunges lap swimming structure. I guess, is there a staff report on this? Oh, wait, I see one. Is there a staff report before we go to the fact there's one speaker?
So yes, we can do the staff report first.
Thank you.
So in the winter, we had two types of lap swimming. We offered a drop-in lap swimming, and we offered our registration in advanced lap swimming. And during that time, we had a survey that was open. You could fill it out online. You could also fill it out. We had paper copies at the plunge where people could fill it out in person. And so the results of that survey, these were the questions that were on it. So how long do you swim per session? 44% came back saying 55 minutes. The next one down was 32 minutes. 45 minutes got 32%. Next slide. Drop-ins is offered at convenient times. 43% agreed with that. 35% were neutral. Go ahead, next slide. There are enough drop-in lanes available. 23% strongly agreed, 24% agreed, and then 43% were neutral on this question. Go ahead, next slide. I prefer the drop-in option to register for a secured spot. And 21% agreed, 24% were neutral, and 27% disagreed. Next slide. Please select which form of lap swimming corresponds to each statement. So this had a chart on the survey, and they had to pick which of the below options went with the statements. So I think the lanes were too crowded. 55% said neither drop-in or registration were too crowded. 26% then said the registration were too crowded. Next slide. I'm able to swim the length of time I want. 62% said with registration they were able to swim the length of time that they want. And then the next was kind of slightly divided both. So 14% said both offerings allowed enough time, and then 16% said drop-in allowed enough time. Next slide. I think the lanes were easy to identify. 74% said that applied to the registration, and then 16% said both. Next slide. I'm willing to pay $7 for lap swimming. So this is just, as you all are aware, I am very much in the mindset of talking about fees, so that's what this question was about. There was some concern that we're going to be raising the fee immediately. That is not what this question was about. But when it comes to saying I am willing to pay $7 for lap swimming, 69% said neither. 21% said they would pay that for registration. Next slide. I had the opportunity to swim alone in a lane. 57% said that applied to registration, 25% said neither, and 13% said both. Go ahead, next slide. And then the final one is if you could only choose one type of lap swimming, which would it be? 87% requested registration. So this survey was open in the winter, and it ended when the plunge was closed for its annual closure. And that's the time that we analyzed the results. And so we met with the ad hoc subcommittee on plunge, and staff is recommending that we move forward with just registered lap swim lanes based on these results. But that is what the conversation is. So I'm here to answer any questions about that, about any questions outside of the survey results on why staff feels that way. And I'm also open to hearing any comments about that.
Before we go to comments, I see we have one speaker, Lori Levine. Is she here or online? Okay. 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Lori Levine.
Thank you.
I'm at the Culver City Plunge 5 to 7 days a week on most weeks. Initially, I really didn't care for the short course and having to make appointments, but COVID happened. And the only way to allow enough swimmers to be able to use the pool while still limiting the amount of people other people come in contact with is to do 18 short lanes instead of 8 long lanes. Registering initially was really difficult. You got to get up, especially in the summertime when the weather's really nice, you have to get up and register at 6 or 7 a.m. almost a week before you plan on swimming. Also now, if you have any cancellations, you don't ever get your money back. Whereas before, you could actually cancel your swim. The reason I'm in favor of keeping registration, they have added a year-round family swim area that has been used throughout the entire winter of either local families while the kids are off school or even visiting families that are staying here in Culver City. It's also kept the amount of people swimming in every lane to a limit of no more than 3 people. When Culver City only had 8 long lanes, there were sometimes upwards of 10 and 12 people swimming in those lanes. And there were a lot more people crashing into each other. So a lot more injuries happening in the pool. And so to keep the pool open year-round and inclusive to people who are not just lap swimming but families, I think it's important to keep the short lanes. And at this point, the registration allows anybody who wants to go ahead and register. So it's kind of open to everybody at the same level if they sign up. And I'm concerned that that won't be the case if it goes back to 8 lanes, because how can you limit 3 people per lane in only 8 lanes? You're not going to have very many swimmers. Anyway, so I just wanted to let you know, for safety reasons and to be inclusive to families, I think it's important to keep the short lanes and to keep the registration, because right now the pool's not broke. The way it's working is not broken. I don't know why somebody would want to change it. Thank you.
I believe that concludes the speakers. I'll take comments from commissioners. I'll start with Commissioner Chen, who I believe is on that subcommittee.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I've seen the slides earlier as part of the subcommittee. I do appreciate that this has been a discussion that has been going on for quite some time and preceded my tenure on the commission. It does seem that, the staff has put in quite a bit of time to trial drop-ins and to solicit community input using the surveys. I know we had a discussion of the total quantity of surveys in the subcommittee, although I can't remember what it was, and it wasn't displayed on the slide deck. But I think, the survey.
75.
Thank you. The survey was open for several weeks. And it seems like the responses aligned largely with what today's speaker was saying, that people seem to prefer registration. And so, I'm comfortable with that approach.
Commissioner Whitaker?
I appreciate staff for doing this survey. It definitely gave insight into how the swimmers feel about what's going on at the plunge. One question I did have, Deputy Director, was there a space to write in why you had a disagreement? Let's say you have about 6-8% strongly disagree with the drop-in times, right? Was there any space on the survey to say why they disagreed?
Not for each specific question. There might have been at the end comments, but I can't remember if we added just open comments.
Okay. Yeah, overwhelmingly, it seems as if registration is a lot of people seem to like registration. The only one thing that I'm just slightly concerned about, though, if, let's say, for instance, a person just wants to swim, they didn't register, they show up, there's no drop-in lanes, we're turning them away. I don't feel as if we need to turn away swimmers just because they didn't know at the time of registration. And I understand that we don't want too many people in the lanes. We obviously don't want any accidents. We don't want any of that to happen at the plunge. We've already had one incident, and one incident's too many. My only concern with not having the drop-in lanes is just to exclude people. I do like the fact that everybody loves registration. I do, and it makes sense. I just don't want to exclude people because they aren't aware or they can't.
Can I just add something really quick? People are not excluded if they don't register. As long as there's
Excuse
room,
me,
they're allowed.
we're having a meeting. Thank you.
So I would add that it is the policy, and I can make sure staff is following this, but if we're not sold out, then we don't turn people away. It would only be if we were sold out. And we actually don't even turn people away. If we're fully sold out, we have what's called a standby. So if someone in that scenario, if someone shows up, it hasn't arrived within 15 minutes, then their spot is given to who is on standby. So our intent isn't to just turn someone away.
Correct. Yeah, I'm well aware of that. I just don't want it to turn into a thing where you say, okay, I have my registration, and then it just becomes something more than it needs to be. But overwhelmingly, I see everybody loves registration, so I am in favor of definitely going with what the swimmers want, and that's registration. But once again, like I said, I do appreciate the effort to go and do the survey. Thank you.
Commissioner Bond?
As someone who has swam or has swum at the plunge for 26 years, and someone who is an avid swimmer, who swims longer than an hour when they get in, and also someone who has used the drop-in lane. There is one drop-in lane. And just this last week, a week ago Monday, I was in the drop-in lane, and probably about 15, 20 minutes after I'd gotten in, and I got in not at the top of the hour because I had other things to do, and in order to get in and to swim however long I wanted, I needed to be able to drop in. And probably about 10, 15 minutes after the hour, someone else dropped in with me. We circle swam. It was no problem. The lane that we had was
a difficult lane to circle swim in because it's one of the smallest lanes. It's number 6, and it has, in the middle of the lane is the ladder. This person who got in and swum with me, he thanked me for having a drop-in lane. He actually works for the Culver City Fire Department, and he said this is the only way he would be able to swim. So the challenges that I have with registration and that I see, for instance, the time that I go, which is usually between 9 and 1 o'clock, there are so few people in the pool. If you have more than, generally you have 1, maybe 2 people. Yes, usually between 9 and 11, it's really quiet. But the thing is that the issue I really have with registration is people start to view these lanes as belonging to them. And this is a public pool. And I know so we had a lot of people saying that in registration, they didn't have to share that lane with anybody. And to me, that's a concern because this is a public facility. And if we only have 1 person per lane, that means we have 18 people in the pool. I think having a family lane is great. I think that's something that we should keep so that they can come in and use it. And I also floated the idea that we should have a lane where people can go in and if they are trying to rehab, because we have a lot of people who come in and rehab, that we should have a lane for rehabbing, and it would be in the shallower end of the pool. I'm not saying get rid of all of the registration, but when you only have 1 lane for drop-in, and there's times when I would go to the drop-in, and it was not easy to find that lane. You had to know what to look for. They had a small little sign. And I would go to the drop-in, and I would go, okay, do you mind me sharing? And then the person would just go and move into the registration lane. And what that tells me is that there were people that were getting into the drop-in lane that were registered, don't really care. I'm happy to share the lane. This really comes down to swimming etiquette. It really comes down, that's what it comes down to, is people knowing swimming etiquette. And that will prevent, it will prevent accidents, it will prevent a lot of things. But the other thing is that pre-pandemic, we had, the pool was set up for 50 meters Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then it was only set up till the time that the kids would get in to use it from the high school. And then in the evenings, it went to short course, except for from Sunday to Monday, because they just leave it since we close early anyway. So the other thing that I wondered that they didn't ask is how many of these people that took the survey were actually Culver City residents? Because we have a lot of people who swim in the plunge who are not Culver City residents, which is fine. It's a community pool. Everybody should be able to come and swim in it. But it's also primarily funded by the community and our businesses that are here. So I think it would have been, it should have been also included how many people responded that were actually residents. Because I know that when I've been there, and some of the people that I spoke to, and they were very rigid about everybody likes the lane. It's kind of like when you go to a classroom and you find your spot, and this is where you're going to sit every day, right? And people have come to look at the lanes like that. Oh, this is my lane. And we've even seen people get angry when they were asked to share. Oh, well, I came here early. It did happen the first time. It has, the people, when they were asked to share, the first time we had the drop-in lane, there was someone who had to be escorted because she didn't want to share her lane with someone who was, because there apparently weren't enough lanes or whatever she said. People, so you rarely see people come in and swim 3 per lane. 1 or 2 by about a quarter of the top of the hour, most of the people are out of the pool. And which it shows on our, on the survey. Only 41% are 55 minutes, and which means that you have 59% of the people are not, well, not 59 because there was a 1 and a 2 hour, but you still had a larger percentage that were swimming maybe 35, 45 minutes together when you combine that. So I would encourage that we still offer a drop-in lane. Because then if we have that drop-in lane, then you end up not, I mean, I would obviously like there to be more, and you could actually say you can drop in at any time, but we have a limit as to the number of people that come in. You could say there would be 3 per people, 3 per lane. You can drop in at any time, but if there's 3 per lane, you're not going to be able to do it. It's currently 6 per lane for a long course, I believe. And it did get kind of crazy sometimes with long course, with the number of people who were swimming in there. But I still think that we really need to offer at least one drop-in lane. And please, preferably, there are people who prefer to use lane 6 because of that ladder. And so I know that there were some people who were moved out of that lane 6. And it's a smaller, narrow lane, which makes it harder if we can put 3 or 4 people in there and we will circle swim. When you narrow that lane down, it makes it harder for people to actually do that. And so, like I said, if you have people with the right etiquette, and we do have rules listed of how the etiquette is, if you have the people swimming with the right etiquette, it's not a problem. I mean, I swim with 5 or 6 people in a lane, and we generally do not have issues. I'm not saying at Culver. I'm saying where I swim with people who have 5, 6 people per lane. We're usually all the same speed. It can be more challenging when you're not, but you can make it work with 3 or 4 people. So if everybody's willing to do it, that's the challenge. But I really would like to encourage that we have at least one drop-in lane. And right now, honestly, in the middle, with winter time, even though we've had some warmer weather, it's certain times of the day, it's not really, I mean, you go there in the evening, even though we have teams there, you'll see between 8 and 9 o'clock at night, nobody in those other pools, like 1 or 2 people in the lanes that aren't being rented out. And I've driven by there multiple times, so it's not. So I would just encourage that, and then let people know that, yes, that it's not just registration, but if they go there, but encourage to still offer that so that people like this firefighter can come in and use it and be able to drop in and stay a little bit longer and train if he needs to.
Is it okay if I respond?
Yes.
So, Chair?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry.
What I'm hearing, and it's something that, I'm not quite prepared to talk on tonight, so I would have to do some research. But where a lot of the confusion is coming from the feedback we're getting from people, comes from, it sounds like, if there is space for people to have their own lane, we might not be allocating the right amount to lap swim. And it could be that by having too many lanes dedicated to lap swimming, it not only is causing the issue with the etiquette, because people are coming in going, well, that lane's not being used, so I should be able to use it. It also, by having too many lanes allocated to lap swimming and having the drop-in, there was some issues with people saying, I'm registered for this specific lane, and there's people in it, but no one's using the drop-in lane right now, so I'm just going to go over there, and then staff is saying, well, that's for drop-in, you're registered for this lane. So one reason staff has concern with keeping drop-in lane is because it does tend to get confusing when people are doing exactly what you say, which is saying, I want to have a lane to myself. So it could be that we are not allocating the plunge correctly, and that lap swimming maybe should be taking up less lanes so that people are sharing, and then as we start to sell out, we expand it at that point.
I'm confused.
So,
Right now, lap swimming, you're supposed to have 3 people to a lane. And so when people register, that is how we cap the registration. As let's say we have, I'm just making up a number, so don't hold me to these numbers, but let's say we have 10 lanes dedicated to lap swimming in an hour, then we are going to have 30 slots that people can register for. Now, if people are getting their own lane, that means those are 2 slots that are open. So if people are getting used to always having their own lane, and I had 3 lanes with only 1 person in it, that's 3 people who should be sharing a lane and 6 slots that aren't being used. So I'm saying what I'm hearing is we maybe need to go back, look at the numbers, and if we're taking 3 lanes that each have 3 people in it, maybe we should be changing our allocation and do 1 lane to those 3 people share. And then once we get to a point where all of a sudden our lap swimming is selling out and we don't have standby access to allow people to jump in, then we go, okay, we need to add another lane allocation for lap swimming, and we start to add each lane back in. Because to me, it's sounding, and this is just what I'm hearing, so you can correct me, the issue isn't with registration, it's with people showing up and seeing a lot of lanes open, and if they're forced to share something, they're like, well, that other lane over there has no one in it, so you can use that one instead. So if we start to reallocate based on demand, that would bring it down to where people get used to sharing again, and then again, when it starts to sell out, we can start to expand it and add lanes.
So
Hang on, can I interject for a second? My computer just went blank. So I need some, maybe while we continue this conversation, somebody can come help me, come look over my machine. Sorry.
So a lot of the experience that I have gotten, at least with the registration, is by doing the registration and people becoming accustomed to having their own lane. When I have gone and talked to people, and I say, I'm going to jump in, but I have friends who swim all the time there. And for instance, like Cindy swims all the time there, and pretty much she almost knows everybody. And there's a few others that too. I will, before I get in the pool, if I am there at the same time, I will go over and I would talk to her and see how she's doing and everything. And every time I go, and if it's getting close to the hour, she says to me, oh, you better go grab a lane or you won't be able to get one. And it's like, okay, but there's not enough people here for me not to be able to, but I'm going to the drop-in lane anyway, so I don't care. I can swim with other people, right? So it has created this fear of lack, of not enough lanes for everybody to have their own. Now, Cindy often shares with 1 or 2 others because she's more of, walks, does more of walking. She's used it as rehabilitation and to keep exercise going and everything. But so it has created a sense of lack, and that's why people become very possessive of the different lanes. And then also, they don't want to share. You're right, because I've had people tell me, I don't want to get my hair wet, so please don't splash. And it's like, we're in the pool. This may not be the right place. Wear a shower cap? I don't know what the answer is. Not trying to be not respecting the person, but at the same time, it's a little hard to swim without splashing. So I do think that it's become a point of this attitude of lack, that they won't be able to get a lane and they won't be able to get their own lane. And so when they come every day at the same time and they register at the same time, they start to view particular lanes as that's the lane they like to swim in, and that's their lane. So they'll line up, you'll see them line up behind the lanes that they want. And it kind of is mind-boggling to me, because I keep thinking this is a public facility, and so nothing is owned by anybody in here. It's completely public. But all I'm saying is, okay, so they want a registration, but I'm saying we need to at least keep one drop-in lane. But perhaps they need to have a larger sign. If people want to register, fine. But there still needs to be that one drop-in lane that allows people to get in and swim. And people then need to understand, it encouraged that to share. I understand what you're saying, but I also do really think that just one drop-in lane is not the end of the world. And especially like I said, I went there and there were maybe 15 people in the pool. So and then you look at nighttime and there's just the swimmers with the team and there's almost nobody there. I can understand once we get to summer and there's much more pressure on the pool and maybe sticking to registration there. But when we get into the winter time and there's a lot of less pressure on the pool, just having one lane to drop in, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of pools that have drop-in and people manage to be okay with it still. I mean, you have Hawthorne that you can drop in and swim for as long as you want. You might have to wait if you don't want to share a lane, but Santa Monica from 5:30 to 3 p.m. through the winter time is drop-in. And then after 3 p.m. when the kids, and there's more pressure on the pool, then they do registration again. So I think and I know Santa Monica is a larger facility, but we still have a large facility and we still managed to do it prior to the pandemic. But again, it comes about etiquette and knowing the etiquette, and then, but we were okay pre-pandemic. So, and I swam with a guy who was not necessarily a swimmer the last time or last couple of times, and we just had the etiquette and managed to avoid each other in a very small lane, by the way. It's a small lane that they've put us in.
And again, this isn't a recommendation from staff. It's just I feel that the etiquette question that you're bringing up might come not from what is actually being discussed tonight about drop-in or registration, but it might actually come from how we allocate lane space.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you could have at least one drop-in lane, though?
This would be my recommendation if you're going to say, I want a staff recommendation on what the two of us have just discussed. I would like to currently remove the drop-in lane and have just registration. And then what I would want staff to do is actually starting now, through going to summer, track what our attendance and what our actual registration rate is, so that when we're coming out of summer in the fall, I'm willing to revisit the drop-in and putting it in for winter. But I want to make sure things are allocated correctly with demand, because the major complaint that I got that kept coming back to me, that I keep coming back to, is that if the drop-in lane is empty, because it is drop-in and there are moments when it is going to be empty by the nature of drop-in, it gets right back to this etiquette issue, because people will look at that lane and go, I don't want to share a lane with two other people, and that lane isn't being used. Why can't I just jump in it?
Well, I'll tell you another way to handle that is get rid of registration and let people just drop in. Because that's what we did for decades. mean,
and that is the discussion on the table tonight, is do we
I mean,
get rid of
if-
registration? Do we go with just drop-in? I'm looking for recommendation from all of you on that.
Yes,
You
and
saw the
not
feedback from
everyone
the
has
people.
spoken yet.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
So I will, I've made my comments to Commissioner Bond, so I will let the chair have the floor back.
Thank you. And I will turn to Vice Chair Peters.
Great, thanks. All right, so I see, I'm trying to see if there's not, like, I'm trying to be creative here. But I don't know that I have a good solution. So one, on the one hand, I totally see why most people want to register, because most people say, I want to go swim, I want my workout today to be swimming, or I want or like, whatever your workout is, you want to know, you're like planning in advance, so you want to register to make sure you have your spot so that you don't show up and get turned away. Because at a certain point, when you're not, I could say back when I did swim team, we could shove 4 or 5 in a lane and it was fine.
Yeah.
But you're not a swim team, so you probably only can put 3, maybe 4 max in a lane. And so I can totally understand that people want to register because they want to know that they can come in and swim. In the past, I thought there were sort of 2 major concerns that maybe are not as much concerns any longer. So one is the people who want to swim more than 55 minutes. So what if we just let people go basically the full hour with knowing that, like, it does not take 5 minutes to get in and out of a pool? And, like, yeah, somebody might be finishing their lap when the lifeguard blows the whistle. And I would hope that adults get out of the pool faster than my 8-year-old has in the past. So one, maybe it's just to get rid of that and to allow multiple people to register, which I probably assume is the case. You can register for multiple sessions right now. So, oh, good, my computer's back on. we're getting somewhere. Let's just make sure I actually get back to the actual website, but the computer's on. And then I see the other problem is sort of like the odd start time flexibility. So I could imagine I want to swim on my lunch hour, but I have to be at my desk till 12. Can I make it over to the plunge in time? Or like I finish work at 5 and I want to swim right after work, but I can't make it to the plunge by 5:10. Which is where the like drop-in lane is kind of nice, because then I don't have to worry that like I'm going to get kicked out of my lane. And that's the one where like it's harder to think about what like flexibility there might be in terms of with our current registration system, where it can't be more dynamic and allow people to register to say come in at like 5:30. And I don't have a good solution. But I get that that's like the other major problem. So I think, if we got rid of this, like, you have to get out of the pool at 55 minutes, which kind of sounds like we've already sort of done some, then that gets to this issue of like people wanting to swim longer. But it's sort of like the odds, the like not at the top of the hour start time that I think a drop-in lane gets you. I also don't see a problem that if like somebody's reserved a lane and then there's nobody in the drop-in lane, why they can't just jump in the drop-in lane. I guess I'm a little more flexible, like loosey-goosey, but,
Can I respond to 2 things? So I'm going to respond to the drop-in lane.
Yeah.
Not right now. So we do have, I believe the drop-in lane cap was 4.
Okay.
So the concept behind not letting people who registered into the drop-in lane is if you have 4 people showing up for the drop-in lane, but a registered person is in it, now only 3 of them can get in. So it was just handling the demand, if the demand existed. The other thing I want to say is about this hard start on the hour. we need to meet with staff and see if we can do this, but I'm not opposed to, again, coming back to, are we allocating the lanes correctly? It could be that we take the lanes and divide them in half, and half of them start on the hour and the other half start at the half hour. So there is just more, basically more hour slots that can exist. I'd have to meet with staff and see if logistically we could pull that off, if it
Yeah.
wouldn't cause too much trouble at the check. You know, I need to find out if that's something that we could pursue. But that could be a possible solution, and people who can't be there right on the hour, we can give them half-hour increments to where you could make it.
Yeah. Les, I like the idea of creating one lane, and maybe this is, like, not at the really hot hours of lap swimming, but I like the idea of creating a walking lane that is specifically meant to be for those who want to do rehab, who do not want to swim, but want to do, walking. I kind of like that idea if possible, especially as we're thinking about allocating the lanes and whether we do have enough demand. And then I know that maybe this isn't fully, since we're talking about the plunge, I like the family lane, but it also fills up really fast. And sometimes I feel like too much, personally, this is where I'm going to go with my personal, desire. And I know a lot of people, it would be nice in the summertime to think about having more family rec swim time at the, after work period. Because I've talked to a lot of people who said, wouldn't it be nice if you could pick up your kids after camp and go swimming on really hot days, which you sometimes can do, but sometimes you can't get in the family lane. So it might be nice to think about if it is the case that our lap swimming lanes are not fully utilized, if we could allocate more space for kids and families in the afternoons. But that might be something that'd be something as we look at the data, I'm a big data fan, we could look at, and then one last comment, when you present data, this is a little off topic, but when you present data, can we have the size of the widgets be kind of the correct size? Yeah, thank you.
I fully agree, and I apologize. We were going to update it for tonight, and
That it didn't happen.
things got in the way of that. So
happens.
yes,
All right.
but I fully agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, so I think, if we can create some lanes that start at the half hour and then make it so people don't have to stop swimming at the 55-minute, I think that it will address a lot of the concerns. And then it's just making sure that the system, it's very clear on ActiveNet. And I think it does update very quickly, having seen how quickly it updated for camp, where then you could, instead of having a drop-in, you could see that you could go online and see oh, hey, there's no space. It's totally full, I'm not gonna bother stopping by today, or something like that. I think that solves a lot of the problems.
So where I'm at in terms of pool usage is we need another pool. But short of that nirvana being reached, I would like it to be where there's enough flexibility for the person who has just decided, maybe like me, I haven't swum for a while, but I'm going to be going on a vacation that's going to include it, and I just want to go there, and what's this ActiveNet thing and registration and all that? It's that's not for me. Now, I'm not quite sure how large the population is for that, but I like the idea for some swimmers to have that flexibility. And from everything that I am hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, that comes from having at least one lane being a drop-in lane. That being said, at our peak periods, we probably can't have a drop-in lane unless your reallocation of the lanes
provides the data to suggest that we could do it. So that's where I'm generally at. And the other thing that I have to say is, yes, I would like to see if there is a possibility for the, whatever we're going to call it, walking rehab lane, if that's possible. I mean, I know we have the water aerobics, and there was a lot of discussion when, our contractor wasn't able to do that anymore, but there were a lot of people that were using that, I think, kind of as maybe a way of, staying in shape and maybe a little bit of a rehab. So I would like to see us explore that option a little bit more, particularly since we do have an aging population. But that's my general thoughts on the matter.
Can I say one more thing? It'll be short.
You have 30 seconds.
I have 3 seconds.
30.
Someone did ask what happened to the Aquafit. So I guess something has happened to the Aquafit?
She takes a period of time off every year, so the instructor is basically taking some time off. We are 100% set up for her to return in spring. I don't know the exact date, but she has her date set, and she's coming back.
So all I would say is if that could be posted somewhere of when she's coming back, because people are wondering if she's coming back at all because of what happened when she was gone. So
Yes, we'll update the website.
So this was a receive and file.
But you can make a motion you can make any motion. That's just what we recommended when we were writing the report. Something I am hearing, so I'm just going to say what staff is hearing. For us to look at the allocation to make sure we are basing the lane allocations on demand. If we have too many lanes, we should look at maybe allocating a lane for a therapy or walking. We need to look to see if family swim might need to be multiple lanes. We need to look to see if family rec could be in the evenings during the summer. So all of that stuff we've made note of, so we can analyze and see if we can incorporate that. The other thing is looking at doing staggering times and if that's something we could absorb so that people can, if they can't be there on the hour, it's not that they can't use the plunge, they can register for the half hour to see if we can make lanes work that way. I would recommend letting us see if we can make those things work. Again, I'm going to remind you that if a lane is not fully booked with 3 people, we do allow standbys. And so the standby, if someone shows up who didn't register, they can jump into a lane that is open. So when we talk with staff about reallocating lanes and making sure we're meeting the demand accurately, I can also make sure we buffer that so that it's not so tight that we're getting the 3 people maximum immediately. We can maybe have some extra lanes to allow buffering to allow standbys to be able to swim.
I'm not understanding then the difference between a standby and a drop-in.
There really isn't one, except during peak hours when people are already registered. I think one issue, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but historically when we've talked about this, the issue came by where if someone was doing a drop-in and they got in at like 20 minutes after the hour, they still had to get out at the 55, and there were issues with being able to swim the full hour because they were late. But if we staggered the times, we might be able to solve that.
I mean, it'll help if you stagger the times if you have separate lanes. Some of the things that we see people getting upset about is that they're in the middle of their workout, they think they have their own lane, and someone gets in late, and then suddenly they have to share the lane, and that causes, and people get upset, oh, well, they came in 15 minutes late, I thought I had my own lane. What a drop-in lane actually is that you come in at any time and you leave at any time. As long as the lap swimming is available, you could swim for 2 hours if you wanted to. Whereas so a standby means that you're limited to that hour.
Okay.
And so there's a few people that want to, they want to swim a bit longer. And when I say a few, it's probably about 100 that have left the plunge that no longer swim at the plunge because of the policies. So, which is about half of what we currently have swimming at the plunge. I think we have about 200, 250 that swim at the plunge, so we've lost about 100 people.
So what I'm hearing staff saying is the possibility of having staggered start times provides more flexibility, but not as much flexibility as a drop-in lane.
Yeah, because people could come in at like 15 minutes late
You know,
or 45
but
minutes.
the major issue we saw with drop-in, again, I don't want to say major issue, but the complaint we would receive is if we reserve a lane for drop-in and it's not being used, it becomes this issue of people saying, well, why is that lane being not used? So again, the larger issue is I'm hearing is less about the policy and more about how the staff are allocating the lanes. Because if someone is having an etiquette issue and saying, I want my own lane, and we have an empty drop-in lane, you know, that they start getting upset that lane isn't being used. So I would recommend that you allow us to see how we can make registration work, maybe with the staggered times, maybe with some new allocations for lap swimming. We are open to doing the therapy lane and seeing what the demand is with the family lane and seeing if we need to make that more. We can readjust all the allocations because all that can fall within what we have reserved for lap swimming, and seeing if that helps some of the issues that you are mentioning. And then at the end of summer, we can come back and give a report on how that is and if the drop-in lane is still needed. And then we could incorporate the drop-in lane again in the winter.
The other thing I would suggest is if you're looking at the a therapy lane, go for one of the big ones on either side, because those bigger ones on the north and the south of the pool, they're really hard to lap swim.
Oh, okay.
So
We're making note of that. That's a good recommendation. Thank you.
Is someone going to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion. So I'm going to motion that the PRCS staff will examine the allocation of lanes, looking to, one, creating staggered start times at the half hour, additionally with the hour. Also with the possibility to create a walking/therapy lane and a possibility to increase the number of family lanes or family rec swim during the summer. Is that everything? I think I got it.
I believe you got everything.
Okay.
And therefore, okay.
So to clarify, we have a motion by Vice Chair Peters, seconded by Commissioner Whitaker for the Parks, Recreation, and Community Service Commission for staff to examine allocation of lanes, looking to create staggered start times with the possibility of creating walking lanes. What was that last part again? Sorry.
And the possibility to increase either the number of family lanes or increase family rec swim for the evenings in the summer. Can I add, can we add that we're going to come back after the summer to give a report? Or is that something we add later?
You can add that now.
Okay.
You do already have a second, so technically you're not supposed to, but if this person who gives a second is okay with it, you all can adjust the motion.
Seconder is fine with that?
Yeah, we can adjust the motion.
Thank you. That is a good add.
can I have a question here, point of order? Because part of this I actually support, part of it I don't. I feel like it's a disservice to, even if it's a small portion of the population, to not have a drop-in lane, just one. I don't really care if someone wants their own lane and wants to swim with me, and then I come in to do the drop-in lane, and if they feel like they need to move, I can still share with them. I don't have an issue if they're registered or not. And most of us that come in and drop in don't have an issue with that. So taken as the whole thing, I will be saying no, but I support some of the other aspects of it. So the only thing I don't support is not having one drop-in light.
So because there has been a second, you all need to vote. So you've said your comments, and we will understand why you vote the way you do.
Chair Alexander?
Yes?
With all the votes in, no, it was just, we were waiting for your vote. But with all the votes in, that passes with the majority. For the record, there's 4 yeses, and Commissioner Bond voted no.
Thank you. Moving on to A3, receipt and filing of, I have to keep remembering to click here. Our budget recommendation letter to the City Council with amendments, if any. Would staff like to talk about certain items we may wish to consider amending in our budget letter?
Yes, I have a few things I want to make you all aware about. So the first thing has to do with the Lindbergh Playground. So staff, we plan to apply for Measure A funding. That is basically a pot of money we get from LA County that we have a certain allocation that goes to us each year. And the idea is that we allow that pot to fill. And then when it hits a certain level, we use it, and then we allow the pot to fill again. And it comes from Measure A, hence the name Measure A funding. So the right now, we are in the process of applying to use some of that money to cover the cost of the fitness court that hopefully will be going to Tellefson Park. So we are planning on applying for using the rest of what we have right now to cover and offset a large portion of the Lindbergh Playground. A big thing about Measure A is it has to be free, open to the public, and it has to, we can't charge a difference for residents or non-residents because it's coming from LA County. So we just have to make sure it's equal. And so a big thing that they use as recommendations are playgrounds are great things to apply for the money for. So I don't know if you all want to highlight that or explain that a large portion of your request for that playground will be reimbursed with LA County funding. The next thing I wanted to point out was you're in the letter you ask for you ask for an increase for youth sports, specifically. There you go, fund in-house youth sports program staffing. I want to clarify what's going on with that because the request isn't quite in line with what is going on. So last year, we took this request to city manager, and he made it a one-time only request because he needed to see what was going to happen with the election back in September. So any kind of staffing changes that were requested last year, the city manager made it a one-time, which means this request and this amount we have in the budget right now, but it goes away in the new fiscal year. So I would recommend that your request isn't, it kind of explains that you're requesting it to be shifted from one time to ongoing, and that it was funded last year. I also want to talk a little bit about the maintenance 1, maintenance 2, about the full-time positions. Staff is in the process of working on the budget. We have been given the directive that we must, the city manager has told city council that he will be delivering a balanced budget this year. It is not a goal, it is not a wish. He will be doing it. So we are analyzing our own budget. We have been giving a task of certain scenarios to present our budget. So we're basically doing 3 budgets this year, scenario A, B, C, depending on what needs to be cut. So with that being said, I want you all to seriously have a conversation tonight about if you all want to have us move forward a request to add full-time staff. Because by increasing my staffing line, the city manager has said, we are not cutting staff, we are not cutting services. I have to look for everything in the middle, right, to slim down on. So that is contracts we bring in, that's how we buy supplies, it's all of that stuff. So by raising my staffing line, I will have to find more cuts in the supplies and stuff. So I do want to hear your thoughts on that. I want to hear your thoughts on if the full-time staff requests are something we should move forward with this year, with that understanding that the higher my staffing costs go, the more I'm cutting elsewhere. And then the last thing I want to talk about is Chair Alexander, myself, the city manager, and a city council member went and looked at Bill Bott's fields. As you all have heard tonight earlier during updates, there was a big call to action for the city on the conditions of Bill Bott specifically, but really our park fields across the system. And so we have talked about a lot of different things that can happen at Bill Bott's. In addition to your request that you all have in here of the, I believe it's 1.5 to fix it as is existing. We have talked about what it is in the parks plan for Bill Bott's Field. We also talked about what's in the feasibility study. To catch some people up, the feasibility study was done back in 2024. It focused specifically on Bill Bott's Fields and Veterans Memorial Park. That was it. The concept of a feasibility study is simply to see what is feasible. It is not a plan to move forward. And so understanding that that is what a feasibility study is, it does have massive changes in it to both parks. Some of the things the public liked, some of the things the public did not like, right? But what it ended up saying was, hey, if we wanted to do all of this, it could fit in the park. But that's not necessarily the directive of the study. Part of, in that feasibility study, one of the recommendations is a rec center at Bill Bott's Fields. So we have talked about that rec center. As you can probably assume, building a rec center is not something that is just, I can come up with the funding for by cutting a couple contracts that I have, right? It's going to be a lot more expensive than that. And so something for this commission to consider tonight, maybe putting in this letter, or definitely is going to be an ongoing conversation that we probably will be having pretty regularly, is what are the funding plans and financial plans for doing some of these large parks plan projects? What are, and funding plans can be everything from fundraising to bond, taking that to the voters, to all sorts of things. But what is the financial plan that you all can get behind? What would you all recommend? How would you like to see that financial plan created and put in motion? So it's a bigger theoretical conversation, but it starts with your budget letter and saying, hey, we recommend, you could be as specific as saying, we recommend city manager and city council consider a bond. It could be as broad as, we recommend city council bring in a financial strategist. We recommend, right? I mean, it could be, we recommend staff having dedicated time to analyze the finances of a major construction project. It really is right at this moment a little more of a conversation, but I recommend thinking of this letter as the beginning point of that, what direction should we be going when we talk long-term construction projects? Because that is something this department, now I wish Hope was still here. I believe the last park that was built in Culver City was in the mid-'70s, and it was Fox Hills Park.
Sounds right.
So that's the last time this department has dealt with any of that, and of course, none of us were working for the department back in the mid-'70s. So it's something that I think is a conversation that starts here and starts tonight. And as much as I think we need to finalize the letter tonight, so it might be a lot of Adrian writing as we talk and us confirming things tonight, because my budget is due. I think we need to look at the approach that this letter is taking and thinking less about a laundry list of asks and more about this is what has to happen next year. Like, not hey, could you please, but we as the PRCS Commission is saying this has to happen. It must be funded. And two, we recommend us looking at some strategies to be able to start putting finances in place and funding in place in order to make the changes that are clearly being said by the residents at the listening session and through our Parks Plan process. That, I know, is kind of a lot of big stuff that I just recently had the conversation with the city manager about. So I am open to having this conversation tonight, however it may go, but I do recommend we might need to make some major changes to this letter. And as always, I am, of course, here for questions.
One brief comment. I did all the work on the letter, and now we have to massively change it.
So
You are blowing it up big time.
I wouldn't say massively change it. I just think there might need to be some edits to it and maybe some restructuring. But I think I fully believe it can all happen tonight. So it's not a massive
Lovely
rewrite.
sense of humor about it.
And I have guilt all the time. So thank you for helping me just have a little more tonight.
Okay. Having not gone to all those community meetings, it sounds like you really feel like there is much more of a mandate, and you're recommending a tone shift in the budget letter.
More focusing.
Yes, I would. That would be a good start for the discussion tonight. Is yes, a tone shift, and I will let the other commissioners confirm this who were at those meetings. But I do think there is a bit of a mandate now.
I went to 2 of them, and I looked at the information that came from the strategy session later, which was informed by some of those meetings that came before, and, the train is moving right now. So we need to keep it going as much as we can and be responsive to that, I think. I just want to offer one easy edit to the letter. When we were talking about the possibility of the racket sports under the E line off of National, we heard earlier in the evening about the possibility of other things going in there, those spaces that might intrude on this possibility. So maybe we want to reference that. And then also I think to keep things kind of like generic, even though I like to give attribution where it's due, we will just say we're talking about an opportunity to build a small park under the E line rather than referencing any particular individual, if we can do that. It's under creation of new racket sports courts under the E line off of National. Page 4 of 5.
I wonder if that section I wonder if that section potentially is a good way to segue into some of these thoughts that the deputy director has surfaced, in the sense that the proposal is to put in this pickleball court, which is frankly new park space and function that we haven't had since 1970s. And, to say that, use that as an opportunity to highlight that long gap in building, and to then state that, and then transition into the ask of, thinking about how do we put together structure to bring more foundation, donation, other revenue streams, so that we can realize the parks plan, or pieces of it, significant pieces of it.
Rather than calling on individual commissioners, feel free to sort of jump in with your thoughts here. It'll be easier.
Well, so basically what you're saying is that perhaps what Commissioner Peters should do is take the first section about staffing and cut and paste into another document so that we don't lose all of that, because maybe we can't do that right now for this year, and focus on the capital improvements, because it was pretty clear to me, at least at the meetings, that the ones that I attended, and especially the last one, that Bill Bots is a critical issue for us, and that's something that we really need to push forward. One little thing that should be fixed on the Bill Bots and referring to Dodgers Dreamfield. Dreamfield is one word. I looked up Dodgers Dreamfield thinking, oh, maybe there needs to be an apostrophe, and then I discovered that it was actually one word. So the Dreamfield just needs to be changed to one word. And then also at the Telson, if we are going to be able to get Measure A funds that would replace that, pay us back. And even though we were saying it would be less costly to do it in phases, we might want to figure out, stick with the phases then and see what we can do with the budget, saying these are the things that need to be done now. But I definitely think we need to push forward with Bill Bots Field.
So I think part of it would be even just thinking about like the order of the letter.
Yeah.
Is to move Bill Bots up to be the first priority.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my concern, having listened to the comments and knowing many of the groups involved, is, okay, I was part of the people who loved the feasibility study, and I love the idea of the rec center, but like, that's not gonna happen in the next, that's not going to be done in the next 6 months. That's not gonna be done in the next year. That's not gonna be done for a couple of years. So I think what AYSO and Little League would be concerned about is two things. One is, how do we get enough field space for all of our players in the next, or the main concern would be like, how do we both renovate Bill Bots and make it usable? And then how do we do that but still allow AYSO and Little League to have their seasons? And so is it, and given the sense of like having now seen the process of doing some of these projects and just how long it takes to like do all the plans for a playground at Culver West, and like that we've been talking about a playground renovation, and it's going to take a total probably like 2 years from start to finish, and that's just renovating a playground. Is one, is there some way to do smaller fixes such that we can deal with, so that field 4 is playable again, and to fix up the fields enough to get them playable without spending too much? Or is that just throwing good money after bad? And we should just say, okay, for the next couple of years, we're finally going to get the middle school and high school to like lend us their fields. You know what I wanted to say in there.
For a price.
So,
For a
so I
price
can
that they
address that.
desperately need.
I fully understand throwing good money after bad. That is not what we're thinking at this time. We are, and I also understand the timing, and when you're looking at a playground, how long that takes. I will say, and I'm not sure if this commission remembers, I know not all of you are here, but we did already get engineered drawings for the top level for fields 2, 3, and 4. So we do have those. We are planning on making changes to field 1, and we are looking right now to start planning to have something for the top fields Right now, our goal is by the end of the year, and that is our goal. That's a very, it's a lot of work on our end, but that is something that we are trying to put as a priority because we agree that our fields, especially at BOTS, especially from what the community has said, is a priority, and that is something that we are putting there. So no, we do not think you're throwing, good money after bad. We do understand and agree.
Okay, so then the plan should be, or the letter should be, just so I understand, that like, we need X amount of money for basically deferred maintenance. Let's call it deferred maintenance, because it's kind of what it really is deferred maintenance. But then also, we want to think about totally renovating those fields in the park. And knowing that the total renovation is let's be honest, like that's probably a 5-year. At the fastest would be like 3 to 5 years, right? Like by the time we had all the community meetings and to build like a whole rec center.
So that is where it comes into play of we need to discuss tonight a financial plan.
Exactly. I think we need
Because
to get behind that.
if we figure out the financial plan of the steps we need to take, and we have full support to take those steps, we could break ground in 3 years. But that requires a lot of work on staff's part and a lot of support from the commission and a true financial plan of how we're going to get that money. So that's why I brought that up. Sadly, it is a bit, again, tonight, a theoretical thing, but that's where all plans start, right, is in a theoretical state. So yes, we are planning on taking the money that is in blue right now for Bill Botts Fields and making everything playable. And then the idea is from the day we finish until the day it looks like it is now, because that's going to happen again, and I've been very upfront with everyone about that. We are doing everything we can to get money in place to where when it's like this again, it's not us having this conversation about how do we fix it temporarily. It's us going, and this is when we're going to build the rec center. So that's the idea, is that we get it to where it is playable now and safe for everyone. And then from day one, we have a financial plan where we're all looking at taking steps forward to make it happen.
So we need to recommend something like a request for proposal be drafted regarding a financial plan that matches up with some of the things in the feasibility study, but since it's 2 years old, we need to re-up what the numbers would be with there and be cognizant of the fact that there were certain elements of the feasibility plan that were more, shall we say, not quite pie in the sky, but not as well embraced by the community. For example, the idea of the amphitheater, whereas other pieces of it, such as, recreational uses and all those other things clearly were.
So are they looking for us to potentially recommend a bond? Or, I know because when I spoke to the city manager after the second meeting, he was saying that generally cities about this size already have like a tax in place that would support our parks, but unfortunately, we're all city taxed out. So it would be an audit that would go directly to the parks and nothing else. I mean, that might be something, I don't know how long our current taxes that we have set in place are, that are city taxes, the sales tax, but it might be something that we put a pin in for when those sales tax go away, and we put that as something, I know it's a little far out, but that might be something that we look at beyond just a bond, because I know that the school district is also now looking to float a parcel tax, and which is going to be significantly expensive once they do that. So I guess while a bond would be great, I think we need to be mindful of how much can our tax base actually sustain.
And you could start that statement in the letter. You know, the PRCS Commission recommends that staff analyze the expirations of any taxes and explore opportunities to introduce new taxes at those expiration dates for taxes dedicated to parks, or something of that nature. You know, like, I think with this letter, now's the time to lay some seeds. And so if that's something you all are interested in, I think we should put it in. Or if it's, you all are thinking we need to pursue a bond, that's something we could put in a letter. So now is,
Yeah.
I think the thing is, where you as 5 members of this commission, where you all want to support city staff, what direction we're moving in. It could be you want us to get a contract to have a financial strategist, right? In a year when we're tasked with doing a balanced budget and I'm analyzing every penny that I have, you all recommending a financial strategist is probably going to be worth more than like a maintenance 1 worker right now. You know, so if that's a direction you want us to go, you know, I wouldn't put it in my budget. I would fully make it an enhancement that would have to be discussed by city council.
If we can get the implementation of our 13-year-old now fees and charges in place, this would help the whole conversation. And I don't know that we want to add that to the budget letter, but you certainly heard me speaking of it at the listening session, that it needs to be done. And I know that it's not on you.
I will let you know that I am moving forward with a business plan that's been requested by the city manager. Every department has to turn one in. And I do have a section in the business plan where I explain that everything I'm proposing is based on the current fees, but that we're planning on changing them and the strategy. So it is being referenced, so I can then say this is how revenue is going to change. So it is being referenced. I'm not leaving that out of this.
So I think here we could say something like, in this next paragraph, say something like, these fixes to billbots do not solve the long-term issues of the fields, or long-term issues, fields. The PRCS Commission recommends studying strategies. Sorry, the language is not right, but like, let's go with it. Somebody will help me fix it. Studying the strategies to fund major new complex, sports complex on bots, or rec complex, what should it say? And then we could say, like, these could include examining taxes, a bond.
Increased fees.
Yeah.
A foundation to solicit donations, et cetera. Yeah.
A real estate plan. I'll just make the observation, interestingly enough, although the city has taxed itself to the hilt, we still probably have decent capacity under things like general obligation bonds because we haven't done very much debt financing, except for internal service fund things such as sewers, and things like that.
So sorry, I would just like to add, I would also recommend stating something about that we really need to fix the infrastructure at Culver City Park, Bill Botts. So it's not just a building of a new complex, but truly fixing what the ongoing issues are.
Yeah, I sort of envision it like you can talk about how, you know, recent community input and the ongoing requests of our longtime community partners of AYSO and CCLL, lead us to prioritize Bill Bots as our, first ask, and that there's a desperate need for, completing the deferred maintenance to ensure that the fields remain, or ensure that the fields are fully playable for the seasons and the needs of these youth sports. And doing so will put us in a good place to have the longest possible runway to give us, to do like a full throttle sort of strategic focus on how do we use, multiple streams of revenue to get us where we can do a substantive, like permanent infrastructure improvement that will also include, additional, like maybe another recreation center or something, like tie it all up.
That permanently fixes the issues.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't use permanent because it's not, we're not like Dutch dikes with 300 years here, right?
Fix,
But yes.
right. So a long-term fix to the
Right.
issues.
Yeah. Maybe a generational fix,
Right,
because 25 to 30 years, I think, is a reasonable runway.
The other thing that I would just suggest to you because I went on the different websites of the local swim communities, so Santa Monica and West Hollywood and El Segundo, and every single one of them charges more for people who are not residents than those who are. Some of it is substantial. I mean, for instance, like kids in Santa Monica only pay $2, whereas if you're not a resident, it's $8. They also, so this is or if you are a resident and you're an adult, it might be $4 or $5, but for someone who's a non-resident, it's $9. So I would say that we might want to structure our fees more this way. So if you were to keep the $3 fee for resident, maybe you charge $6 for non-resident. But if you go to all of these other sites, $6 would actually be cheaper than every other, than West Hollywood, than Santa Monica, than El Segundo. I don't know about Redondo, but it's a little far away. Actually, Hawthorne just raised their fee from $3 to $5. So we are, other than Los Angeles, which has had some issues and ended up closing their pools for a number of their pools for the entire winter, has all raised their fees in order to be able to fund their pools. And they all actually do offer certain passes. The passes are slightly cheaper, but they're still less expensive for the residents than they are for the non-residents.
I don't think we'll have the specifics for these kind of fee structures for this
No,
letter,
I understand that, but he's going to be, you're wanting to push forward the fee structure, and currently we do charge a little bit more, a little bit extra for non-resident who want to get a permit at the park. I think we should be doing the same thing for the pool.
So I recall correctly, you're going to come back to us with the fees and charges before we go to the city council with it, correct?
Yes, the goal
Yes.
is to come back
Right.
next month with
So we
it.
can discuss it then.
Well, I just wanted to be sure that it didn't get, that this didn't get lost. And if you, and I can actually send you links so you don't have to do the search.
So just so you know, and then we are getting a bit off topic, so I would like to get back to the letter. But I will say, we used to charge in other areas non-resident fees, and it was more than the resident. And that we were instructed by the city attorney to kind of change that. So now we give resident discounts. So us doing non-resident fees, the city attorney has requested us to move in the opposite direction of that. But it's a bigger conversation we can have during the fee discussion next month.
Yeah, okay. Just looking for ways to increase our revenue.
Okay, so going back to the letter. Since I understand it as sort of a again, as I said at the beginning, more of a mandate for growth and a shift in tone for asks. I think so far we've settled on putting billbots first. And then I guess I would suggest then that pickleball is next, because again, it's a growth ask. And then we can put after that, maybe Lindbergh, and we can sort of, so that's a transition to, maintenance, right, deferred maintenance, and a mixture of that and improvement. So then you have Lindbergh, and you can kind of soften that transition by saying we'll try to be able to get reimbursed for some of this through Measure A funding, and then Tellefson Park, and then wrap it up, I guess.
I mean, the ask for the $1 million for Bill Botts, I mean, that has to come first. It just has to sound great when we ask for it. So the community wants it, right? Which has been fully expressed, and it is, for lack of a better term, it's a black eye when you see that mound of dirt. The thing is, what really it comes down to is probably explaining how fast it can be done. That probably adds to the level of expediency that it needs to be done.
I would say that right now we are moving forward with doing this project. So we are trying to put everything in place as if the money is there. So July 1st, we already have our contracts written.
Okay.
That is the intent that staff is approaching this. But as I said at the listening session, the last one that was at Vets, and I say frequently, it's not about how quickly staff can actually get the work done. It's about working with AYSO, working with Little League, working with these other organizations, and understanding when we can get to it without, we're gonna affect their seasons no matter what, but how can we do it as minimally as possible?
Right.
So that's one reason why Danny earlier said we think we can have it done by the end of the year. We are ready, we will be ready to go July 1st, but it's working with those organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to cut in the middle of baseball season. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, no, explaining that, like you said, you can be ready July 1st and then also following up by the end of the year. We're really moving deep into the project, if not showing great progress, right? That adds to putting the pressure, honestly, on city council to say, hey, the community wants this. We want this. We've been fighting for this, and that's a great start on this budget letter. And then as we've going on to the next things, it's unfortunate that we're going to lose the maintenance worker one for right now. I don't know what is the level of pressure right now on your staff as far as maintenance work goes.
High level, definitely. It's, again, as Deputy Director mentioned, it does come down to looking at where we think it's feasible and the department as a whole. So there's a large demand on the park system right now and keeping up. So I fully am aware of that. I just definitely want to stress that our consideration for looking at the bigger picture takes precedence in, as someone that oversees the parks maintenance division, the larger department-wide ask is priority in my mind.
Okay. Thank you for that. I know it's tough to push that away. And Tellefson, Tellefson is also one of the projects. We've been asking for Tellefson, and that's 1.6 million to get that done, but that also needs to be done as well too. But Bill Botts comes first, and then that can, as Deputy Director has explained, that's how we can snowball that into the recreation center.
I have a question. I wonder,
Oh, I did too. I was just, quick clarification. How much money of Measure A money do we have?
I'll look it up right now.
Okay.
but the question that I have, and I'm not sure that the budget letter is the most appropriate location, but maybe it is, listening to this dialogue about maintenance. I know that we probably should be doing something to support the idea of public works being fully funded as well, because there are, as I've understood over the months that I've sat up here, they are a partner with us in terms of certain things for maintaining the park. So I think that maybe some one-sentence acknowledgement of that would be important as well. Or at least if we're not putting it in the budget letter, when we're talking to council members or members of the community, that's got to be there. I know there's differences in terms of opinion as to if they would just focus on some other things, it would be there, but that's a political solution and not a reality where we are now.
This is a minor nit, but in the paragraph right above the table for Tellefson, you'll see that it says pickleball as 2 words, and everywhere else we have it as 1 word, and it should be 1 word.
It
But-
is one word.
Yeah. What about, so when we're thinking about financially, I know that some of these, we were working on naming rights for smaller, but something that naming rights for smaller things so that we can actually make some money, and that could be put back into the parks. Well, is there some way that maybe putting into the letter the fact of working on naming rights, not just for small, but larger projects? And that's nothing we can do, but maybe to put a bee in the bonnet of the city council to start moving forward with that?
You could. They've passed policy that allows for much larger naming rights, but
Right.
The policy states it has to go directly to city council.
No,
But yeah, it's definitely something you all can
But it's just to say that
highlight.
this would be
They're asking for an
option.
earmark, that once they get that program going, that some of those monies can be earmarked to be going to Park and Recs for these purposes, because the community has asked for it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it will get sucked up for something else.
I think maybe that goes up at the section of bots where we talk about like having parks, like think of different ideas. So keep going up a little bit. All right, down, next page. All right, so however, these fixes to billboards do not solve the long-term issues to the fields, the PRC, period. And then, new sentence, the PRCS Commission recommends studying strategies to fund a major new recreation complex and infrastructure improvements there. Infrastructure improvements. These strategies.
I would add required infrastructure so that they understand.
I like that.
Required infrastructure
so
improvements to
then these
ensure the fields are
strategies-
playable for a generation.
Could include a bond, increased fees, foundation to solicit donations, comma, and use of the new naming rights, and use of revenues from the new naming rights policy.
For both large and small facilities. Go big or go home.
Can I interject? The statement, sorry, PRCS Commission recommends studying the strategies to fund. I would just like to remind the commission that as a department, you've seen how stretched thin we are with all of the projects we're doing.
What is the thing we need?
So I would recommend or at least look at a possible financial analyst, something like that,
Through
to
an
assist
RFP process, yeah.
that piece for us.
So is that
It could be a financial analyst or a financial consultant.
Is it, okay, so it recommends hiring a financial analyst or consultant to study ways to fund. And then, do we have any idea of what that dollar amount would be?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
But if the recommendation is there, I can start doing some research so that when the time comes, I can answer that on the city council level.
Okay.
Do we also have any type of dollar amount if we were to get like a Dodgers Dream Field grant? Do we have any idea what that would be?
I don't. We could look that up and maybe input it, place it in. Because normally with the Dodger Dreamfield, I've looked at the deadlines. I haven't really looked at the max funding.
I'm just wondering if the part, because it's kind of buried down there below Bill Bott's, is if we had it up at the top.
The recent community input.
Well, under like where we first start about the dear city council members, and we do it like the third paragraph and say, in order to be able to, or in order to implement the Parks Master Plan and be able to fulfill the wishes of the community or the mandate of the community, really, then we take the information that we had about underneath it. We need to look at ways to fund this with such as whatever we had down there. So that they're seeing up front that we are thinking financially, how are we going to do this? These are the kind of things that we need. But it's right there rather than being buried, because I know as much as they have to read, they might scan a lot. And it would be great to have it right up front in their face that we are thinking about how we're going to fund this. So in order to do all of the things that we need done in the Parks Master Plan, we need to think about the financial strategies in order to make it happen. And one of the ways, here are some of the ways, but we're also going to need a financial analyst to help us make that happen. Does that make sense? So if you have it, you had suggested we put it up front. I kind of agree, because if you put it under Bill Bott's, then it gets lost. There's a lot, we have so much information in here, in this letter. That's just my suggestion.
While you are thinking about that, I do have the measuring number. So Culver City's allocation right now is $1,369,283.32. So a little over 300,000 of that goes to the fitness court at Tellefson, and so that gives us a little over $1 million that we would apply to be reimbursed out of your Tellefson, I mean, not your Lindbergh playground.
Is that an annualized amount?
That's the total allocated over 8 years. It's been pooling for 8 years.
What about, so on bots, what if we change the section head, instead of renovation of Bill Bott's to, I mean, we are renovating it, but something making it clear that this is the short to mid-term fix, but not the long-term fix. What would we call that?
I would maybe call it ongoing playability, because basically if they don't do it,
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to play. That's our goal ultimately, right? Is that they can play for the duration of their season as well as additional practices. So I think if you emphasize that then there's the work we need to do to maintain that in the short term, and the work we need to do to preserve the ability to continue to do it in the long term.
Yeah, and then I think we could have another section heading before we get to the new park, where, go up just a little bit. So keep going up just a tiny bit. So in between right above these fixes, what if we reiterate this financial analyst twice to really make it clear what we're doing? So one thing you could say is, we could have a new section heading, which is creating long-term solutions for bill bots. And then we could say, these fixes of bill bots do not solve the long-term issues of the fields. And what would we say about infrastructure, Danny? Crumbling infrastructure?
Disintegrating.
Yeah.
What term would you use?
Dissolving.
I'm going to ask our landscape architect what term he would use for that.
I don't know. I guess I would, the majority of the damage is coming from settlement issues, and those have definitely affected like the drains, main lines, supply utilities, everything like that. It's all settlement issues that are causing everything to crumble up there, in addition to age.
Maybe it's recurring soil instability?
Let me think about the
Okay.
proper terminology for it.
All right. And then we could say, recent community input leads us to prioritize Billbots field to ensure the fields are fully playable, and doing so will put us in a good place to have the longest possible runway to have a strategic focus, using multiple streams of revenue for long-term fix, period. Thus, after infrastructure issues, then, thus we recommend hiring a financial consultant or analyst to create a plan for a long-term fix or something.
Long-term revenue stream?
Well-
Or something of that, or?
Yeah. Plan to generate revenue for a longer-term solution?
How about hiring a financial consultant or analyst to, or maybe I say, recommend a consultant to analyze potential of multiple different revenue streams to fully fund capital projects. Because I think capital projects is the phrase that lets people know that this is big money.
And maybe what could help put aside that we are thinking about the finances is that you just above the finances at the top, you have a header that says, that exactly what it is. I know that sounds silly, but have a header right on top of that, so it's if they're scanning for something, they'll see that.
Where we talk about infrastructure, I would use the term failing infrastructure.
Yeah.
All right.
Going back to your comments, Commissioner Bond, since this is my first round, what am I trying to ask? Is the focus of the letter to sort of present the needs, and the council is weighing the different departments, to create a unified budget? Or, do we need to come with solutions in hand? Because it is still from one lens, and at the end of the day, they have to come up with a balanced budget that is all the different.
Well, I guess this is just my interpretation of what Adam was saying when I know I'm supposed to call you by your title, but it's too late. About how they wanted us to have some ideas to present on how we're going to finance this. So normally, it's not something that we would come up with, at least not in, because I've only been here for one other letter, but I feel that if this is something that they're wanting us to have suggestions for, then I think leading with the fact that we actually have thought about it and we do have some suggestions about how to fund these projects or ideas of where to start, we might have a better chance at actually getting the projects that we want done because they know that then this is what we're actually thinking about. We're not. Is what I'm saying make sense?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I can address what the original intent was of any of these commission budget letters because strangely enough, I was the one that brought this up way back when I was on the Finance Advisory Committee. And the whole intent was to include the people on committee and commissions and boards to be able to really emphasize what they believe for that current budget year or even budget years going forward, what are the important priorities that have a dollar sign attached to it and include that in that letter. And it didn't necessarily always have to be in total alignment, say, with what the department heads had to say, but it was something like, we listen to the community. Now, we've all heard what the community has to say, so I think that we do have to include things in there with Bill Botts, and I think it does behoove us to let them know that we're looking at the fact that this is going to cost dollars and cents, and these are the steps that we need to take to get there in order to finance our Field of Dreams up there. Yeah, absolutely.
I also think one thing to consider, and listening to the commissioners, it made me think that council did have the strategic meeting, and it may be good to look at what some of those strategic points that they came up with to see how they align with our goals in this letter.
I have them up, so I'm telling you, it's getting late, and I keep going and everything. I have them up, and so I can go ahead and read them really quickly to you. So there's 3 goals and 3 values. So the 3 goals, first one is strengthen long-term financial sustainability. And the definition of that is combat a fiscal deficit by collaborating on sustainable revenue strategies and ensure responsible stewardship of public resources. The next goal is invest in public infrastructure and community spaces. It's advanced planning and improvements that support safety, accessibility, and long-term community needs. And then the last strategic goal is enhance housing and homeless services and affordability. And so that one they had a lot of back and forth on, but it comes out of the need to build on existing programs and partnerships to expand housing opportunities and deliver effective coordinated services. The 3 values that they came up with are deliver high-quality public services. So that's drive efficiency and excellence in city operations while maintaining responsiveness to the community. The next is promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ensure policies and programs reflect Culver City's values of fairness, belonging, and opportunity for all. And the last is deepen community engagement. Expand the outreach tools, improve transparency, and strengthen connections with residents and businesses.
I mean, we hit all of this. I mean, we've hit everything.
Yes, because these are the third spaces.
Yeah. So we could use that a little bit. We could include, so in our talk about the financial analyst, this hits financial stability. What is it?
Long-term fiscal sustainability.
Fiscal sustainability.
Yeah, I guess I wonder if it makes sense to try to align the structure of the letter or specifically call out these alignments with the goals and values. That's a bigger redesign.
I don't know that we have to redesign it, but I would just always highlight where we align with it.
So maybe what we do, if we were, it's not necessary, but if we were to put a heading above it, it would just be something like
ensuring
long-term.
long-term
I was saying, yeah, I was
sustainability.
going to say long-term fiscal sustainability, you know, yeah, something like that. Something like that. Or working toward, you know, whichever, I don't know. So ensuring is their word, so we may want to just use their word. You know, it's.
How about ensuring long-term fiscal sustainability while, what was the second one? It's something
And
about.
invest in
While
infrastructure.
Invest in public.
investing in public.
So I was going to recommend, instead of saying ongoing playability of the Billbots playing fields, I would recommend invest in public infrastructure and community spaces located at Billbots.
Love it.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Say it again, so Adrian can write it down.
We could also, instead of just ensuring, we could say possible avenues for ensuring. But we don't have to get too nitpicky.
Then, so this gets at a lot of the various, like, asks of building new stuff. And we've talked a little bit about the maintenance workers and getting rid of the maintenance worker. And I assume we're also probably getting rid of that management analyst. I think the only other thing left is the ongoing funds for the playgrounds and then the youth sports. Are we keeping
Do you wanna
that,
talk
or are
about
we
the playgrounds?
dumping that?
I think the playgrounds are very important.
Okay.
As it is now, those costs continue to increase annually, I mean, significantly, and our lead times. So the more we can get ahead of that, the better for us.
So this might also be the place to emphasize infrastructure and in public spaces, and then also affordability.
Yeah, especially with the youth sports program.
Right.
That it's, affordable.
Right.
And it allows equal opportunities for all youth
If
to
we're
be able
gonna
to.
be building affordable housing, we need to match that and stand up
So maybe after
affordable
that-
programming for the children that will be living there.
Maybe after it is off to a rousing success, we could say something like, our youth sports programs are vastly less expensive, oh, that's not quite the right term, I'm getting tired, are much less expensive than,
Or much more affordable.
or much more affordable than other options. To be able to keep maybe just two.
So maybe saying allowing a diverse population to take advantage of them.
One of their values was also deliver a high-quality public service.
Yeah.
which I think the youth sports program falls in line with.
Yeah. I would say, maybe we could change, our youth sports programs are much more affordable, but much higher quality than other options. And much higher quality than other options. To keep the momentum, yeah, I think that helps align it with the value. Because they are really high quality. Even if my son hates basketball, it was still, the coach was amazing. He tried. It was the first time he tried it. He didn't like it, but not the coach's fault.
I bribed my child to play basketball.
He's so tall, and he's like a big Judy. He's so good at it, but he doesn't like it. It's killing me, killing me. So, do we, because it's almost 10 o'clock and I'm getting a little
is
punch
10
drunk.
o'clock.
It's punch drunk. When do we need to, do we want to bring this back one more time? Or do we want to make a motion
think
that
it
like,
needs to go
I work with
tonight.
staff to clean it up and we send it?
I mean, what we can do is have a motion for staff to clean it up and send it to both the chair and vice chair for final approval, if everyone's okay with final approval going through them. And then we'll bring it back in April as a receive and file. This is what was submitted, so you all can see it. But my request is that we are able to submit it so the city manager can see this in line with our business plan.
Okay.
I move to have the staff work in conjunction with the chair and the vice chair to finalize and submit the budget letter.
One thing, Commissioner Chen, just before you say that, I just saw one error. It was on page 4. There, under Hayden Track, it should say Hayden Tract with a T. Under the creation of new racket sports courts, it's where it says in the line second, the Arts District Hayden Tract area.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Backspace. Yeah. T.
T.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Chen, seconded by Chair Alexander, that the Parks, Recreation, Community Service Commission have staff work in conjunction with Chair and Vice Chair to finalize and submit the budget letter. And you may now vote.
So I had actually found some typos, but I left my printout at home, and I will just forward it to you guys.
Forward it to staff and we'll share
Okay,
it with
staff,
them.
yes,
Thank you.
okay, yes, you're right.
With all votes in, that passes unanimously.
Can't do a three-way.
That
Did not come out right. Delete that. It is getting late. That is getting late. Okay, fine.
Yes, yes, yes.
Let's move to the next item. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, hopefully this one can go fast. I can explain what's going on here. We are consideration of forming a Park and Recs and Community Service Commission, food truck regulation and permits in the park ad hoc subcommittee, and if desired, appoint 2 PCRS commission members to the newly formed ad hoc subcommittee. So at the last city council meeting, there was a staff report that came forward. I think we've all heard from the community members about, pizza at Carlson Park, and there was some discussion as to some different kind of regulations that are already in place and how to deal with existing businesses and all that. That was authored by our deputy director. And So I made a comment as an individual, suggesting that maybe if there was enough time to do so, that this commission, through a subcommittee, could take a look at that, because it falls under the same kind of process that, and for our newest commissioners, you weren't here for that, that we went through and looked at the entirety of the municipal code that related to things touching on parks in terms of looking at the regulations of what you can do, what you can't do. But in thinking about how people may wish to utilize food trucks to try to have gatherings in parks, trying to balance those issues with the other issues. The only thing that I have to say about this, so they directed us to do it, but we have at least one council member, for whatever reason, that wanted it done yesterday. So this one's going to be moving very quickly. It may not even come back to us. If I got that accurate?
So I agree with Chair Alexander's summary, and yes, this is a fast-paced ad hoc subcommittee. The goal, I already have staff researching. I'm going to be meeting with them hopefully before the end of the week to discuss their research and start forming the plan. The goal is to meet with the ad hoc subcommittee before the end of the month. This is supposed to come back to you for review at your April meeting, with us going and presenting the new structure, the new permit, or whatever it ends up being the recommendation. We will be presenting it to City Council at their April 27th meeting. So it is fast, and it will involve a lot of information in our meetings. So I recommend, if anyone is considering doing this, please keep in mind your own personal schedules, because it will be a bit of a staff needs you to drop something and we need to meet this week kind of timeline. Oh, and I will also add, as all ad hoc subcommittees, this does come back. So if you're someone that wants to have input in this, but you're like, I can't really, my schedule doesn't allow for the fast turnaround, it will, our goal is for it to come back to the whole commission in April, so you will have time to give feedback on it.
So are we supposed to, someone get a motion that we?
So if you all wanting to move forward with creating the ad hoc subcommittee, you all can also right now discuss who you would like to be on it, and you can make a motion to form and appoint at the same time.
Okay, then I will withdraw my motion.
I think it's a good idea to make subcommittee. Who has time?
I will do it.
Or
It's
desire,
fine.
and desired. Like,
I volunteer, because the pool one is less, the plunge is less active, so.
Thank you. I think it is a good one for the newest commissioners to be on, to sort of understand the balancing that comes with these things. That was just a suggestion.
Well, I mean, that's fine. I'll be on the subcommittee. I know this one has to move quick. This is, this needs to happen fast, and there's a lot of moving pieces that's involved with this. Watching the city council meeting and seeing everyone speak about the pizza in the park, and there is a vast setup that could happen here. Hopefully, Deputy Director can, tailor it to where it moves streamlined, but I can see this could work very well, or I could see this go very bad, very quickly. So,
okay.
I just in all honesty here. So, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do it.
I do have a quick question. Will those permit fees fund the parks? I mean, if it's.
It would be a new revenue. It would be a new revenue line for the city, so we could put that in the recommendation that it goes completely back to the parks. It's a little early for me to truly be able to answer that question, though.
No, I understand, but it's just thinking of ways to make more money.
Sure, we could ask for earmark, but we also regardless, sales tax is the biggest bucket of revenue for the city, so more sales is.
Good for us, yeah. Okay.
All right, now we can get a motion.
All right. I make a motion that we form a Parks, Recreation, and Community Service Commission, Food Truck Regulation and Permits in Parks Ad Hoc Subcommittee. And that Commissioner Chen and Commissioner Whitaker, these need to be in two, or can I do it in one?
You can do it in one.
Okay. That Commissioner Chen and Commissioner Whitaker are the two PRCS Commission members for this ad hoc subcommittee. Do you second?
Chair Alexander seconds.
I seconded it.
Okay, we have a motion, and on here it's different. So I think a motion by Commissioner Chen. Bond?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's correct then. We're sorry about that. We have a motion from Commissioner Bond, seconded by Chair Alexander, that the Parks, Recreation, Community Service Commission form a food truck regulations and permits in the parks ad hoc subcommittee and appoint Commissioner Chen and Commissioner Whitaker. You may now vote.
Come on. It's not letting me scroll.
With all votes in, that passes unanimously.
All right, moving on to A5, receipt and filing of updates from the various subcommittees and representative appointees. Given the hours, maybe we can narrow our remarks and go very quickly on this, if you could, please. Let's see. Starting with Culver City Senior Center.
So the Senior Center meeting that happened on February 9th, they decided to discontinue the $25 gift certificate for the board meeting attendance. They explained air conditioning and how it works and how they don't really have any control over it. They had a couple of staff reports, and all of them, everything seems to be going well. All I can say is that if you're a senior and you wanted to join, they have some really cool classes that most of the classes are they're very cheap. Like you can take Spanish class for $4. And of course, for the pool room, they always want another table. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The new board seems to be doing really well.
Good, thank you. Next is Culver City Arts Foundation.
I have a very short report. They didn't have quorum, they didn't have a meeting.
Thank you. Moving on. Summer Olympics Preparation Ad Hoc Subcommittee.
Nothing's happened.
Correct. Next, Recreational Programming and Rental Fees Study Ad Hoc Subcommittee. You're going to come back to us at the appropriate time. Yes, good. Nothing. And then finally, Plunge Procedures Ad Hoc Subcommittee. Whoops, that's not the only one, sorry. Yeah. Are we continuing this one?
I would only recommend continuing this one to perhaps discuss, I know it's the fees and you were talking about the fees, but just to give us an opportunity to discuss what all that is.
I'm fine with that. We can meet as the subcommittee.
Okay, great. Moving on to the last one, yes, the Naming and Renaming Minor Facilities Ad Hoc Subcommittee.
We tried to meet, but we didn't meet, so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey.
I'm sure, part of this has to do with staff's time availability, and I understand how that's going. So hopefully the recruitment in April for the director will help take some of the pressure off that. Okay. Next, we have the receipt and filing.
We need to receive and file.
Oh, yes, did we?
I'm going to motion to receive and file the updates from the
Thank
members
you.
of the PRCS Commission ad hoc subcommittees and representative to outside appointed
Moving too
associations.
fast there. Yes.
I second it.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Peters and Commissioner Whitaker to receive and file the updates from the members of the ad hoc subcommittees and representative appointees to outside associations and city committees. You may now vote. With all votes in, that passes unanimously.
Okay, now we will move on to action item A6, which is the receipt and filing of our meeting calendar and updated agenda items list with adjustments, if any. I have 2 potential items, but I don't have a meeting date on them, but so maybe we add them at the bottom of the list of items for the future. One, which was referenced earlier in the meeting by our vice chair, which is forming a relationship with the Culver City Parks Foundation once they've completed their actual work necessary to create itself. And the second would be, I don't want to lose track of this, but the park developer fee credit process that we will be doing here before anything goes to the planning commission the next time for that. I just don't want to lose track of it, not that we have to do it at any pace. So if everyone's in agreement, we can add those to the bottom of the page and determine what a future date that would be. Yes?
Yep.
Great. Thank you, 5 nodding heads. Are there any other agenda items?
I have a quick update, which it should have been listed under city council items. I just want to make you aware because some of you have asked me one-on-one about it. So, when was lifeguard? Back in January? Anyway, so our lifeguards did a life-saving
Yes.
time, all right? And so we are so proud of them and respect them so much. And so we've been working with City Council and the Fire Department to make sure they are recognized by City Council, and that will be happening at their March 16th meeting. So I wanted you all to be aware that that is when the lifeguards will be recognized.
Thank you.
If you are available, you are more than welcome, and it'd be appreciated for you to be there.
I make a motion to receive and file the Parks PRCS Commission 2026 calendar meeting with upcoming agenda list items with the adjustments added.
Did you hit the motion?
I thought I did. My computer's cranky tonight.
There we go. Okay. I second, if I can get it to second.
Sorry, was that seconded by
Bond.
Commissioner Bond? For some reason it's not showing up. But we have a motion by Vice Chair Peters, seconded by Commissioner Bond, to receive and file the PRCS Commission 2026 meeting calendar and the upcoming agenda items list with adjustments. You may now vote.
I know, I can't get it to scroll. I can't get
With all votes in, that passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. And the next one would be, I do not see any speakers for additional public comment for items not on the agenda. So we'll move to the last items from members and staff. This time we'll start with staff, please, since they deferred.
Ryan, do you want to start?
Good evening. Just a couple of updates regarding projects. We completed the El Marino shade structure this last week. It took 1 week to install. That project has been completed. We also have an exciting announcement for the Kaizuka Garden in front of the library. While it's not a park, we do have a new water wheel that is being delivered from Japan. It was crafted from a 100-year-old tree. It will be on display at City Hall for the next month or so. Once it arrives, it's at LAX waiting. And then it will be installed at the library to replace the existing water wheel that has been in place since the garden was created. And the final update for projects would be that we have a court resurfacing project that is about to start. It will start at the Culver West Alexander Park tennis courts, and then it will continue on to, I believe it's 5 other park locations after that. That's all from me.
Good evening. A few things. One, the Just for Kids camp is full at Vets. We do still have spaces in the junior camp and the sports camp, as well as the teen experience camp. Youth dodgeball is open for registration right now. We had Parents' Night Out on February 21st. We had 40 kids. It filled up. We do pizza, slime, show a movie. Always a good time for the kids, and the parents seem to very much enjoy it. We have an upcoming lifeguard class, March 13th through the 15th. What we are very excited for is that we have 2 newly certified lifeguard instructors, which means that that course can now take 20 rather than 10. So we are very excited, especially right now as we're gearing up for summer. And then lastly, we have our spring egg hunt adventure on March 28th at Vets. As I explained in a previous meeting, it will take place park-wide. The actual event on site at Vets will be from 9 to 2. The hunt will start at 8 park system-wide. That is all I have. Thank you.
So I wanted to give a shout out to our senior center. Our coordinator, Nancy, over at the senior center, she created a new program with the seniors, which was a Couch to 5K. So she started working with them a few months ago, and they prepared for this Greenland 5K. And it was a huge hit. And if you were at this Greenland 5K, you might have seen them all doing the 5K together, and then they have this great photo of them afterwards completing it. So it was just a really great new program at the senior center that I wanted to make sure you all were aware of. Also, we are gearing up to start discussions about the Lindbergh Park Playground with the community members there. So our first, it's the 21st. I was like, it's somewhere on my notes. The first meeting is March 21st at 9 a.m. That meeting, we are going to be notifying the public, is kind of a call for creativity meeting. We're wanting parents to bring their kids, and it's going to be asking children kind of what they're looking for in a playground, and allowing them to draw and create their own, and hearing kind of what they're into to get feedback. And we'll kind of play around with themes and seeing what the kids are attracted to. So we really want to make it a big family-friendly community meeting for the first one. As the future ones will start to be more targeted to the parents and have design plans and things of that nature. So for this first one, we're wanting to bring the kids out. So that will be the 21st at 9 a.m. At Lindbergh. Yes, thank you. It will be at Lindbergh Park Stonehouse.
That's it? Okay, any final comments from commissioners? Commissioner Whitaker.
Thank you, staff, for all your hard work. Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, thank you for all your hard work as well, too. That is all I have for tonight. And other than that, we're working very hard, diligently, and we're getting a lot done. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen?
I have no additional comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Bond?
Sleep tight, don't let the bugs bite.
Commissioner Peters?
Nothing from me.
It's left up to me. All I can say is thanks for hanging in. We got a lot done at this meeting, and thank you, staff. It's looking really good. Thank you for all you do. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn. Wait, you already get there? Am I there? Motion, there we go. Oh, it failed. There we go. Now let's see if it works there.
So it's not coming up on here again. I'm not sure why.
So it keeps saying it failed, and then I click it and it says I've motioned, so it's showing here that I've motioned to adjourn.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Bond. Does anyone want a second?
I second it.
We have a second by Commissioner Whitaker to adjourn the meeting.
Did not get mine. There we go. Try again. Try again. There we go. Did yours work? Did you vote?
And with that, all the votes are in. Passes unanimously. The meeting has adjourned at 10:28.
Okay, well, that was a marathon. Lovely.